Tuesday, Secretary of State Antony Blinken confirmed at least 33 American citizens were among the 1,400 people killed by Hamas in its attack on October 7th. Tanya J. Powers, Fox News.
Students across the country, they are expected to join that walkout later today. And around 100 people were rescued Tuesday after an MTA train became disabled in Queens in New York City. Fox 5 New York's Ashley Rodriguez is in Queens with more.
Riders on the J train heading from Jamaica Center to 121st in Queens say they heard a loud bang and the ear-wrenching sound of metal scraping against metal, followed by the smell of smoke. MTA says the train experienced mechanical issues near 131st and forced them to call firefighters, who used a ladder to board the train and evacuate passengers running low on patience.
The J train began running again on Tuesday night with severe delays. I'm Ted Lindner. This is the Fox News Rundown.
This is the Fox News Rundown. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1 and newstalkstl.com. Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
Wednesday, funding students, not systems, with Martin Bennett, surviving terrorism with Sari Singer, and the war in Israel, Lieutenant Colonel Raleigh Washington.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps, weekdays at 4 on News Talk STL.
Hi, it's Chris Arps, and I'm a customer of Royal Banks of Missouri, which is a full-service, locally owned and operated community bank with 17 locations from St. Louis to St. Charles and Granite City to Hannibal. Royal Banks offers a full range of financial services, covering all of your personal and business banking needs, as well as access to over 200 ATM locations. And given today's new headlines in the banking industry, it is reassuring to know Royal Banks of Missouri has the highest financial ratings in St. Louis for stability and strength. Royal Banks of Missouri, the community bank that's in your community. Visit them on the web at royalbanksofmo.com.
Hey, Tony Colombo here for Gutter Pros. When Christine and I bought our new house, we knew the gutters were an issue, and after meeting the Gutter Pros team, we knew that they were right for us. Gutter Pros is your all-in-one gutter service team that offers a variety of affordable solutions, and they even offer free estimates, so there's no cost to you to find out if they are right for your home, just like they were for ours. If you're having a problem with your gutters, contact the Gutter Pros now, because with Gutter Pros, water goes where they tell it to. Call them at 314-656-7195 or visit gutterpros.com.
Hi, it's Todd Showalter from The Right Mind Show. Don't let going to the office become a grind unless it's a gourmet grind from discountcoffee.com. Enjoy coffee house blends that can't be found in stores. And don't be fooled by coffee services that lock you into paying more over time. Discountcoffee.com has the very same coffee brands and supplies for less shipped directly to your door. Plus, save 15% off your order with the promo code RightMind. That's discountcoffee.com.
Southern Armory, your hometown gun store. Come and be more than just a customer. Southern Armory, we carry the best guns, holsters, knives, magazines, ammunition, and even food storage. Special orders are welcome. Southern Armory, 1 mile east of 270 and 44, 9901 Watson Road, and southernarmory.com. That's southernarmory.com.
Whether you're purchasing your first firearm or adding to your collection at Southern Armory, you're more than a customer, you're part of the family. Follow Southern Armory on Facebook or at southernarmory.com.
Bill O'Reilly here, and I'm warming up. Stand by for the O'Reilly Update Morning Edition. But first, if you thought booking your timeshare was difficult before, you know it's almost impossible now. For more than a decade, Lone Star Transfer has helped thousands of owners legally and permanently get out of their never-ending timeshare fees. Lone Star Transfer guarantees the release of all liability to your timeshare in writing and in a specific time frame. For free, no obligation consultation, please call 855-551-7066 or go to LoneStarTransfer.com. On this Wednesday, some Republicans have criticized President Biden for taking a weekend walk on the beach, and that's pretty loopy. The criticism was basically that he cannot be a sandman while a war is developing in the Middle East. That's pretty picayune, if you ask me. Everybody needs some fresh air. Also, some are angry about Mr. Biden equating Israel with Ukraine, but again, I don't subscribe to the beef. Both conflicts are about preventing disorder in the world, and twinning them is not an extreme position. Hamas, however, has to be destroyed completely because it murders civilians just like the Third Reich did. The Nazis, as you know, were annihilated. Putin is indeed a war criminal, but while seeking to subjugate countries that have some semblance of freedom, the Russian dictator does not appear to be successful. Appeasing Putin at this point would fast-track totalitarianism. It is truly depressing that we all live in such a brutal world, but we do. President Biden's policies are correct theoretically, but his weak personal leadership makes everything so much more difficult. We didn't have worldwide disorder under Trump, did we? Back after this.
Every morning, the president wakes up to a top secret brief on America's biggest challenges. Ever wished you were in the room? Of course you have. I'm Mike Baker, former CIA ops officer, and I'm here to give you the next best thing. Welcome to the President's Daily Brief podcast. Every weekday, I break down the day's most pressing issues in just 20 minutes. Get briefed. Stay ahead. Subscribe now on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen.
That is the Morning O'Reilly Update. More analysis later on.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Clouds in control today and a spot shower or two kicking around mainly this morning. The afternoon trends dry, but the clouds are going to stick for much of the day. It's still mild for this time of year, a high of 79 this afternoon and breezy too. Winds out of the south, maybe a few gusts up to about 25 miles per hour. Some dry time tonight, partly cloudy down to 64, but right back into the rain chances Thursday afternoon, about a 40% chance. And this unsettled pattern continues right through the weekend. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
Talk radio made in St. Louis.
Very excited for what you guys are doing for the St. Louis community.
For St. Louis. Relevant local talk.
Saying what we are thinking.
This is News Talk STL.
No, you guys are awesome. I love you. And it's a tremendous honor to be on the station.
News, analysis, and opinion.
Thanks for covering the local angle.
Oh, people, this is America.
We better open our eyes.
Really local, really good.
News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and newstalkstl.com. Watch us on our live stream using Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter. Let's get the day started right. This is Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
One of the things that we've been really talking about, we talk about this all the time at Red State, is media malpractice, journalistic ethics or the lack thereof, how the media gets things wrong. Well, they really have outdone themselves in recent weeks, particularly regarding the Israel-Hamas conflict. And Brad Slager is one of my colleagues at Red State who writes a lot about media and their various antics, if you will. So we are pleased right now to be joined by Brad. Good morning, Mr. Brad.
How we doing out there in Arch City?
Oh, doing all right. How are things in Florida?
Just fine. We're just enjoying decent weather and sitting back and watching the media complex melt down, like you said.
Yeah, we write about it all the time because there's never a shortage of things to point out, like in terms of hypocrisy and just horrible journalisming. But they've really outdone themselves lately, haven't they?
Yeah, the way that they're covering this conflict in the Middle East between Israel and Palestine has just gone off the rails. This is, because I cover daily at Town Hall all the time at Red State. I'm kind of like the media antagonist for Town Hall media. And this has been just remarkably bad because, for instance, Oliver Darcy over at CNN, he's their media maven. And he was talking about the coverage of the non-hospital bombing. And attempted to be a little critical, but at the same time, he has to be defensive of the industry. He can't be objective. So he said that in reporting on this story, the stakes couldn't be higher. This was so important. And yet he stopped right there because the way they reported on this with the stakes that high means that they failed that much. The way they covered this, the way they relied exclusively on the words of a terrorist organization, has completely embarrassed the entire news industry.
Brad, do you think that I'm going to get kind of existential or philosophical right now for a minute, but do you think that some of this is driven by, I know it's driven by ideology. I mean, we that's kind of a given. But is some of this driven by the age or the youth, if you will, of the people who are now doing the vast majority of the reporting?
Yeah, I would say there's a contributing factor, because what we've been seeing for the last few decades, and the reason that the media complex is in the condition that it's in today, is just because of the way they're matriculating through the industry. So look back at Watergate, where Woodward and Bernstein just inspired this new slew of journalists to rush into J school. You know, journalism before that used to be pretty much a blue collar job. It wasn't glamorous. It was, you know, grinded out shoe leather reporting kind of stuff. And now all of a sudden we're going to take down the government. We're going to fix all the world's problems through our business.
Sure.
Those kids now, they're going into the industry without objectivity by saying that, you know, in your mind, if you're, I'm going to fix the world. Well, you're already starting out with a bias.
Right. That's advocacy.
They got into the industry, and now those kids that got in, let's say in the late 70s and 80s, have moved up into editorial and publishing. And even the newer generation is even more liberal. And as we're seeing on college campuses today, just how entrenched socialism and leftist ideology is prevalent. Those kids are now going into the journalism industry. So the whole news organization is shifting further and further left each given year. And yeah, when they have this mindset of, well, we have to defend Palestine, we have to look at them from both sides and give their viewpoints, that's what's going to happen now in the reporting. I mean, it's definitely a valid point you make. And note this, too. We just went through a few years since January 6th of the press saying we don't need to do both sides because the Republicans operate from bad faith and lies and election denial. We don't have to give both sides. But when it comes to terrorists who are killing infants in their crib, yeah, they have to have equal time.
Yeah, I mean,
it's such a corrupted mindset.
Isn't that one of the key issues here? Is it's the selective both sidesing. Ostensibly, if you're going to be trying to promote objective journalism, you should be reporting on all sides, not necessarily taking up for sides, but just reporting on what their positions are and what the perspectives are. And, we saw a move away from that, I guess, because, anything in the name of bashing Trump became the cause du jour. But we did see a move away from that and a sort of an unwillingness to look at the differing perspectives for a while. But now it's all about let's that makes me think about this. I just saw I think IDF kind of clapped back at this. I saw NPR saying we sit down with a Hamas spokesperson to get their side of things. Really? You're sitting down with a designated terrorist organization that just butchered 1,400 people, civilians, to get their take.
Well, I mean, this is just where the press begins. I mean, we saw Jake Tapper come out recently, and he's had some good days of reporting, but he also said, following this errant report about the hospital that wasn't bombed by Israel, he actually said on the air, we don't have any reason not to believe Hamas on this story, which just...
Don't have any reason? What about just being genuinely skeptical and intellectually curious enough to make sure that you got more than one source telling you stuff?
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, it used to be always get a second source, always make sure. Any of the reporting we saw about that, quote, bombing, none of it was really saying, now we only have this on us. Some of them say Palestinian authorities tell us, and then ... But they still put Israel bombs in the headline. They still use photographs that were seen.
500 dead.
Yeah, the numbers that they were fed by Hamas were just blasted for a day. Here's Tapper saying, why would we doubt them? It's like, well, how about this, Jake? They're a terrorist organization. How about this? They have years of experience feeding the media false information for their propaganda. I mean, this isn't your first day.
Right.
And yet, here they are just running with spoon-fed talking points from a terrorist group. It was stunning to watch.
Talk to me a little bit about the correction, and I'm putting that in air quotes, near quotes, of that the New York Times made regarding this incident, because they did. I mean, it struck me more as mistakes were made and war is complicated.
Yeah, that's exactly the approach they took. Was okay, it was a fluid story, and we were trying to keep up with it, but the problems exist here. They didn't put it on the front page like they did their initial accusations.
Right. Yeah.
But also, look at the language they used. Errors were made. We unintentionally misled readers on specifics. They used every euphemism in the world except misinformation, which is their absolute favorite buzzword when it comes to anything else. If there's ever fake news out there, they're misleading the public. It's misinformation. But when they do it, oops, it was unintentional. We didn't mean to dissuade you from the truth. Or, they just completely avoid their usual criticism when it comes to themselves. And that right there shows you the double standard that exists.
That's amazing. Yeah, I mean, it would have been better if they would have just said, look, we screwed up. We were in such a hurry to get this story out to you all. We didn't stop and check the facts the way we should have. And we're going to make sure that we don't keep doing that.
Like on my podcast I'm putting on Red State today, I say, one of the bigger flaws that we see in the press today is they're always in a rush to be the first. They're not in a rush to be correct.
You know that.
They want to break it.
You know that from our discussions at Red State. We're always like, wait, we want to get this up, but we want to make sure it's right.
Yeah, and that's the thing is when we are reporting on these stories at Red State and Town Hall elsewhere, we always pump the brakes and say, okay, let's make sure we get everything lined up correctly. Make sure it's sourced accurately. Let's make sure these are the facts and not something that's being fed to us by someone else. We actually practice journalism ethics, and they complain about us being the ones that disseminate misinformation. It's staggering to watch.
The gall of it all really is. It's irony at its finest. Well, Brad,
you want to see gall? We had the very next day, last Wednesday, New York Times, Washington Post, Reuters, and the BBC, all of which put out the fake information, had articles complaining about false information on social media.
That's right. They did.
Within a day. I mean, it was amazing to watch. I just kept compiling these. It's like I had one example. I thought, that is just staggering. I've never seen this before. Wait, there's another. Hold on, there's another. It just kept coming.
Physician, heal thyself.
There's no mirrors.
Wow.
Hey, Brad, this is Stal Ponticus here. Just to piggyback on that thought for a moment, I saw a Gallup poll a couple days ago, and this shows how things have changed just in a generation. Because going back to the mid-'70s, when I was a college kid, the trust in media was 72%. Now in 2023, we're looking at a trust of 32%. So it's gone from 72% down to 32%, the amount of trust that people have in the media. We've got a real serious problem here. Thankfully, you guys are trustworthy.
Well, I actually covered that very thing, I think Friday in my column.
Okay.
And they hit some actual record numbers on this, because if you look at a chart over the years, they do this poll every year asking the public, what's your faith in the press? It's been on a downslide for decades, but they give people four choices. Trust them very much, trust them a bit, don't trust them much, or don't trust them at all. All of the positive reactions added up to 32%. The one category is don't trust the press at all, 39%.
Wow.
I mean, it is glaring how much the press is walking away from the media, from the public, and the public is saying, we're done with you guys. It's just getting worse, actually, amazingly enough.
Well, Brad, where can folks find your good journalism?
Well, thank you for that. Well, I'm daily over at townhall.com with my media column, but also just about daily at Red State. And I've got my twice weekly podcast, as I said, called Liable Sources, where I just go a little bit deeper into the media malpractice stories out there.
Fantastic. Well, Brad, thanks for coming on with us today. Really appreciate you talking about it with us.
Absolutely. Anytime.
For podcast articles and more, find us on newstalkstl.com. Get up. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning. Subscribe and watch your favorite News Talk STL shows. Mike Ferguson in the Morning, The Vic Porcelli Show, Columbo and Katie, Jones and Arps. Webcam streaming on Facebook, Twitter, Rumble. Subscribe and watch News Talk STL.
Ackerman Toyota has the 2024 models. You're going to be impressed. Check them out in person at Ackerman Toyota, Hampton and Interstate 44. In fact, you've got to see the 2024 Toyota Sequoia. Very impressive. This is the time to buy and get top dollar for your vehicle. Looking for pre-owned? Ackerman Toyota can also help you. Ackerman Toyota at Hampton and 44. AckermanToyota.com. Ackerman Toyota for life.
News Talk STL is proud to have Doug Voss as part of our lineup every week. Doug has been a staple on St. Louis radio for many years as one of the leading financial experts in the area. You can hear Doug and Safe Money Radio 3 times every weekend on News Talk STL. And in case you miss anything, you can check it all out at DougVossSafeMoneyRadio.com. What else do our listeners need to know, Doug?
Simply put, I focus on helping pre-retirees and retirees build, preserve, and protect retirement assets, and I've been helping my clients solve their insurance and financial needs for the past 33 years. I also strive to educate my clients on how to prepare for retirement, minimize the impact of market volatility on their assets, and deal with the challenges of increased longevity. Call me today at 844-676-SAFE. That's 844-676-7233.
Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through DHL Securities, LLLP, member FINRA and SIPC.
Hi, it's Todd Showalter along with my buddy Joey V from The Right Mind Show. Say hi, Joey.
No, thanks.
Join us every Saturday at 5 p.m. when we put the fun in our dysfunctional world. Want to add anything, Joey?
Oh, no, thank you.
Plus, exciting guest and King Kirby from DiscountCoffee.com. Take us out, Joey.
Get Jim Modulin to do it.
Putting the fun in our dysfunctional world. It's The Right Mind Show with Todd Showalter. Saturday afternoons at 5 on News Talk STL.
Staff Sergeant Mark Anthony Madrid.
Staff Sergeant Samantha Cowell.
I'm Staff Sergeant Alex
Staff
Stevens.
Sergeant William Lewis, and I am proud to defend my family and our nation.
The Air Force Reserve is part of the story of this great nation.
I'm grateful that I have a chance to wear the uniform of the heroes that went before me.
I'm proud to be part of a team that helps make a difference in the world.
Every day, men and women from communities across this nation serve as reserve citizen airmen. Even as technology evolves and changes, our commitment to defend and protect this nation remains steadfast. We celebrate those who have served and those who are proudly serving. We celebrate our proud history and look towards an exciting and uniting future. Our mission is to fly, fight, and win in air, space, and cyberspace.
And I am proud to be a member.
And I'm proud to serve in the United
States. And I am proud to protect our country.
Proud to serve in the U.S. Air Force Reserve.
This news update brought to you by Anton's Plumbing and HVAC. Call Anton's at 314-338-3941 or visit them at antonshvac.com.
Hi, this is Mark McCloskey. Check out my show, Mark McCloskey on Fire, Sunday afternoon at 5 here on News Talk STL. Right now, it's back to Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Threshold is very tough. It's a very tough thing, no matter who it is. I said there's only one person that can do it all the way. You know who that is? Jesus Christ. If Jesus came down and said, I want to be speaker, he would do it. Other than that, I haven't seen anybody that can guarantee it. But at some point, I think we're going to have somebody pretty soon.
Well, Stell, he may have risen if you believe that the good Lord came back in the visage of a congressman from Louisiana, because overnight, we got some breaking news. We'll get to that in just a second.
Okay.
Good morning this morning. Good morning, my people. It is Tim Jones in for Mike Ferguson. Mike is playing a little baseball down in the southern lands. We had a baseball update for you as well in the major leagues. We've got a lot to get to this morning on Mike Ferguson in the morning. Former Missouri House Speaker Tim Jones, that's yours truly. I'm in the big chair today. I'll be joined by Gabe Pfeiffer, a.k.a. St. John the Philosopher, around 6:05. Stell Bay, producer Stell, in studio with me, of course, this morning here at 101.9, 94.1. This is News Talk STL. It is 5:53 in the AM on a happy hump day. October the 25th, 2023. How you doing, Stel?
Hey, good morning, Tim. Good to see you.
Good to see you. Good to see you. You know, do you always wave at me when you drive past Eureka in the morning? Because Stel gets down here earlier than I do.
I usually put my hand out the window.
Very
hey,
good.
Tim. Hey, buddy.
You know, I learned from some of the best in the business. I learned to slide in here right at the last second. That's generally what I do. Well, overnight, folks, while Stel and I were getting ready to do a little sleepy time and prepare for this morning's show, they were actually busy for once up on Capitol Hill at the U.S. Capitol in Washington, D.C., and they have worked their way down the ladder, and I don't mean that in any kind of pejorative way. I mean, they had 7 or 8 people interested in. Okay, so let's reset for the audience at home. For all of you who are getting out of bed and you're groggy-eyed and you're like, what in the world is Jones talking about now? We have no House Speaker. We still have no House Speaker. We are over 3 weeks in with no House Speaker, 22 days in since the fateful Tuesday, the bloodletting on the House floor when Matt Gaetz and 7 Republicans and all of the Democrats sent McCarthy packing because they said McCarthy was working with the Democrats. Okay, figure out the irony of that. Such as to say, we then went to the number 2, which would have been the obvious choice in my mind. Probably a lot of people like Steve Scalise. A lot of people like Steve Scalise.
Mm-hmm.
There were obviously enough that didn't. And so they decided, yeah, even though we appointed you to be second in command, basically the vice president of the House, we don't think you can run the place. So then they went to number 3, and that was Jim Jordan. That was the conservative pick. I had a bad feeling. I was pulling hard for Jordan. I had a bad feeling that too many of the squishy moderate rhinos they weren't going to have Jim Jordan. These people have look, and you can blame it on personality, but that just means these people are petty. Okay. And you may say, well, they don't get along. Well, he was mean to them. There's personality conflicts there. Okay. At some point, don't you put all of that aside and step back and go, the American people are wondering why in the world they put us in place as the majority governing party.
You know what? And one of the things that kind of stumped me a bit was hearing folks say, well, he was involved with moving Boehner out. And Eric Cantor was another one. When Cantor was in, he might have been a minority whip or something like that.
Well, Stel,
going all the way back. Come on.
Every once in a while, the uniparty needs a little shakeup.
Boy,
don't they?
Yes.
So get over yourselves. You're not that important. They all think they are. They all with their coiffed blue hair up there in Pan Am. Little Hunger Games reference for you. So then we decided, you know what? Let's just throw all the eggs in the basket. Who wants to be speaker? They kind of threw up their hands and were like, after McCarthy, after Scalise, after Jordan, who wants to be Speaker of the House? 8 people, I think it was 8 still, may have been 9, raised their hands. That got whittled down, I believe, to about 7. I think 2 people dropped out.
Yes.
They went with 7. They had a vote inside caucus as it's supposed to. They're doing that correctly. Thank goodness. They're doing a lot of this now behind closed doors, which is good. And Tom Emmer emerged for all of about 3 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
And then you know what? To his credit, and I'm not a big Tom Emmer fan. Many of you are like, who the hell's Tom Emmer? To his credit, he looked at the tea leaves and said, I'm not going to put the House through this. That was a leadership move. I give him points for that. And he decided to remove himself from the running. So then we're down to the remaining 6 or anybody else who wants to jump into the fray. They had a vote last night, folks, and they chose Ron Johnson. Is that right? Do I even have his name right? Is it Mike Johnson?
Mike Johnson.
See, I don't even know the guy yet. Mike Johnson, Republican from Louisiana. Mike Johnson, Republican. How about that? We could have the number 1 and 2 in the House, both from the Bayou State. That would be very interesting.
Whoa, wouldn't it?
I'm going to tell you all about Mike Johnson and how this everyman congressman may be just exactly what the doctor ordered. Interesting dude that we will delve into when we come back. And we will also speak with Lee Schulk, the Vice President for Policy at the American Legislative Exchange Council at 6:35. All that and more straight ahead, 1019 94.1. Gabe Pfeiffer joins us next at News Talk STL.
Is your retirement income at risk if you or your spouse needs nursing home or in-home care? Hi, I'm Eric Robert, Director of Investments with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel and host of On the Money, Saturday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL 1019. The cost of long-term care is one of the biggest risks in retirement planning. For many retirees, a single nursing home stay can cause a significant reduction in assets that can permanently reduce your retirement income. Fortunately, there are affordable and flexible options available today that can help you manage the cost of long-term care. Our team can help you address the risks relevant to your retirement, including long-term care. To schedule your free retirement plan consultation, go to clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com, or call us at 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
Classic Kicks Country is streaming now. Hear all your new country favorites from the 90s. I should have been a cowboy. Streaming as it happened in the 90s. Classic Kicks.
Let's go, girls.
Download the Classic Kicks app from the App Store. Online at ClassicKicks.com. Or enable the Classic Kicks skill on Alexa.
I love this station.
90s new country streaming now.
I'm Missouri Lieutenant Governor Mike Kehoe. Buy Missouri promotes hundreds of businesses that manufacture quality products right here in Missouri. Visit buymissouri.net to find Missouri-made products, manufacturers, and retailers near you. Shop local every day, but especially during Buy Missouri Week, October 14th through the 21st. Together, we can support Missouri businesses and grow our state's economy. Visit buymissouri.net and follow @BuyMissouri on social media for more information.
Brought to you by the Missouri Lieutenant Governor's Office.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNVS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomason. Republicans now have their fourth nominee for Speaker of the House, choosing Congressman Mike Johnson.
Johnson of Louisiana is a member of the House GOP leadership team, but lower ranking. A lawyer specializing in constitutional issues, he rallied Republicans around former President Trump's legal effort to overturn the 2020 election results.
Correspondent Ben Thomas says it's still not clear whether Johnson has enough support to win the Speaker's gavel and vote in the full House. Iranian-backed attacks against U.S. troops in the Mideast are on the rise, according to the Pentagon. The combination of drones and rockets used in the attacks. Brigadier General Pat Ryder says the U.S. is bracing for more attacks and will respond appropriately. The White House warning of more civilian casualties as the Mideast war ramps up.
The Israel-Hamas war is already the deadliest of 5 Gaza wars for both sides. And White House National Security Council spokesman John Kirby warns that more lives will be lost.
This is war. It is combat. It is bloody. It is ugly. And it's going to be messy.
Kirby says he wishes that he could say something different, but it's going to happen. Greg Clugston, Washington.
Bringing torrential rains and fierce winds, a powerful storm is manhandling Mexico's Pacific coast.
Forecasters have expressed their surprise at how quickly Hurricane Otis has strengthened, going from a tropical storm to the most powerful Category 5 in a matter of hours. They say that's a record for the Pacific Ocean. Warnings are in place along a 350-kilometer stretch of the coast of Mexico's Guerrero state, including the popular resort of Acapulco, where soldiers have been deployed to beaches.
And that's the BBC's Will Leonardo. On Wall Street this morning, Dow futures 36 points higher. The NASDAQ futures down 87 points. More on these stories at townhall.com.
In a world where financial landscapes can change rapidly, safeguarding your savings and retirement accounts is paramount. Direct Bullion USA is more than just the #1 rated gold bullion dealer in America. We're your trusted partner in navigating the uncertainties of hyperinflation and political upheaval around the world. Direct Bullion USA can provide you with the knowledge and resources to fortify your financial stability and protect what matters most. Call us now at 888-787-GOLD. Precious metals like gold and silver have been a safe haven investment for hundreds of years. Get started when you call Direct Bullion USA at 888-787-4653 and get your free gold investing starter kit today. All it takes is one call to 888-787-GOLD. Take control of your retirement and protect your future with Direct Bullion USA. Call 888-787-4653. That's 888-787-GOLD.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Clouds in control today and a spot shower or two kicking around mainly this morning. The afternoon trends dry, but the clouds are going to stick for much of the day. It's still mild for this time of year, a high of 79 this afternoon and breezy too. Winds out of the south, maybe a few gusts up to about 25 miles per hour. Some dry time tonight, partly cloudy down to 64, but right back into the rain chances Thursday afternoon, about a 40% chance. And this unsettled pattern continues right through the weekend. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Rodney and Jen Wallner and the entire Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway. Call them today at 314-810-SOLD. 314-810-SOLD.
As you know, my friend Mike Lindell has a passion to help everyone get the best sleep of your life. He didn't stop by simply creating the best pillow. Now Mike has done it again with his My Slippers, and the folks at My Pillow are having an early Christmas slipper sale. The original My Slippers regular price is $139.98, but for a very limited time, they're offering these slippers for just $39.98. They come in a variety of sizes and colors. Use a promo code ONFIRE at mypillow.com or call 1-800-645-1392. The My Slippers are designed to be worn indoor and out. They are made with My Pillow foam and impact gel to help prevent fatigue. Plus, they feature quality suede leather. Unlock this special offer and other savings by using the promo code ONFIRE at mypillow.com. Once again, that number is 800-645-1392, 800-645-1392, or you can go to mypillow.com, use a promo code ONFIRE, and get your special discount today.
On the next,
Larry Connors, USA.
Food and medical aid being delivered to Gaza, and more hostages are being released, but are we really closer to ending this mess?
Larry Connors, USA. Now, weeknights 6 until 8 on News Talk STL. Mike Ferguson.
I'm the world's heavyweight wrestling champion.
Gabe Pfeiffer.
I'm Batman. Get up! Get up! Can't you hear the alarm? Get up! Get up! I want to be clear. I'm not going nuts.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Well, good morning, my people. Good morning and welcome to Wednesday. It's a happy hump day indeed. It is Wednesday. It's October 25th, 2023, 6:05 in the a.m. Central Daylight Time. We're not going to be saying much of any of that much longer. Next Wednesday will be November the 1st.
That's crazy.
And then the few days later, we'll fall back to Central Standard. Times are a-changing.
Man.
Good morning. Good morning, Gabe Pfeiffer.
Yeah, Gabe, buddy.
And not long after that, we're having Thanksgiving turkey.
And
that's crazy to me.
And to celebrate this morning, my first cup of coffee this morning happens to be something called Santa's White Christmas.
Yeah.
Why, I don't know, but I just
it showed up in the galley, so
yes,
you know.
Yes, we got this. Yes,
we will partake.
It's a good description for what that is over there, Gabe. It's not a kitchen.
No.
We have this little galley
Yes.
over here behind our studio, and that's a long story. But anyway, you don't care. There's always little boxes of doodads and things, and there was some coffee samples of Barney's, BARNIE''S, Barney's, and it's Santa's White Christmas. And Gabe said, "Well, how is it?" And I said, "Well, I haven't had a taste yet. It's a little hot, but I said it smells weird.
It smells Christmassy.
I guess I haven't smelled Christmas in 12 months still, so I guess it smells like Christmas.
Does Christmas smell weird?
Or like Teen Spirit. Hey, music reference there.
Yeah, I caught it. Nirvana, man.
Well, you guys will both appreciate this. I was driving home last night, and I don't know what I was listening to. Somebody was promoting the fact that this month or this year is, I think, the 30th anniversary of Nirvana's incredible album. The Force Majeure Smells Like Teen Spirit.
Wow. That was on the Nevermind album, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
I'm sorry. Nevermind. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Man. And Smells Like Teen Spirit was the hit single off of that one. Yeah.
I call it the Smells Like Teen Spirit album.
It is.
You actually got it correct. Yeah.
Well, only because that was one of the few albums I actually purchased, I believe.
I think I actually had that one.
Mhm,
And there were
mhm.
several songs off of that album that my little high school garage band worked on to perform at gigs that never materialized.
Yep. Here it is, man. Well, Gabe, if you jump on Amazon today,
Uh-huh.
you can buy the Nevermind 30th anniversary super deluxe box set 5 CD.
Super deluxe.
5 CD. How do they take it to 5 CDs? Remastered. It's on sale today.
Okay.
I don't know if we're in Prime Days or what.
Yeah.
It's 30% off
Uh-huh.
for the cool price of $104. You can get 5 Nirvana CDs.
No thanks.
Yeah. I'm not sure what's on 5 CDs.
What did they do?
Is there interviews? I don't know.
Yeah,
Anyway.
it's probably studio tracks, different takes. on
Oh
songs.
yeah, I can see that. They just basically threw all of the audio that they had in their archives onto as many CDs as they could pack, so that they could package it as a 30
Exactly.
30-year anniversary.
Stell, 30 years ago, are you a Nirvana fan at all? Do you like their music, appreciate their music? Could give a rip about their music?
So just a few songs.
Yeah, I hear you. All right. We got some other breaking news. Despite Nirvana's anniversary this morning, we're going to talk about the fact that we may have a new Speaker of the House. But hold your horses, not so fast. They haven't actually voted on the floor yet, and that's the only vote that matters.
Yeah.
I did not see this last night because I think they selected Mr. Mike Johnson, the congressman from the other congressman from Louisiana. That's where Mike Scalise. That's where I got everybody's first name screwed up this morning. That's where Steve Scalise is from. Mike Johnson is also from Louisiana. He is not a household name.
Not at all.
I knew very little about him. Gabe, I don't know if you knew anything about him, but you said you did see this come across the wires right before you hit the hay last night.
Yeah, I was up way past my bedtime, so I was doom scrolling as I do on Twitter. I was like, okay, what other bullcrap is happening right now? And between the various revelations from libs of TikTok and other things, I managed to come across this story. And yeah, new speaker, he, like you said, he was elected via committee, but the floor vote, we've learned over time now, is the only one that counts, even though it used to be a procedural vote where it was, whoever they voted for behind closed doors.
We've talked about
was
that.
just seated. It's like, I thought that was okay. So
I thought we were all on the same team.
I
didn't know you were on your team.
I thought this was how it works. But yeah, we'll see how that pans out. I mean, maybe the fact that he is so relatively unknown is going to work in his favor, and that people aren't going to have any beefs against him. I think that's if the deciding factor of who becomes speaker has been, at least so far, who you have beef and don't have beef with, then maybe being unknown is a benefit.
Because he's largely a blank slate to everyone on all sides of the political spectrum. Yes, even within the Republican Party, there's all sides of the political spectrum represented.
Yes, there are.
He may have a chance to get him because people may be able to say, well, I don't know if I love him or hate him, so therefore I guess we'll give him a chance. So
Yeah.
the conservatives are probably, well, let me tell you a little bit about him.
Okay.
But first of all,
What do we know?
But first of all, I do want to tell you that we have Lee Shulk, the Vice President of Policy of the American Legislative Exchange Council, coming up at 6:35. While there are no solutions in Washington, D.C., there's plenty of solutions in the states. Lee's going to talk to us about what state legislatures are looking at across the country here in Missouri and beyond for the 2024 session, which is right around the corner. And he's going to talk about something that gets a little wonky, gets a little boring, but is incredibly important to our future and most likely the future of many of your parents and grandparents. That is the massive unfunded pension liability bomb that is about to go off in this nation, rhetorically speaking, of course. 7:15 will be Missouri State Senator Bill Eigel. He'll likely be coming in hot. He's got a proposal for how to get the Chinese out of our business here in the United States of America. And at 8:05, we have a gigantic, big, huge, ginormous announcement with, hopefully I didn't oversell that, with Camelia Peterson, our good friend at Americans for Prosperity Missouri. She'll be the second AFP person we had on this week because we talked to Ryan Johnson earlier. Camelia, she is such a bright spot in an otherwise dark landscape of divisive politics and public policy these days. She's going to be joining us in studio at 8:05. All right. Who is Mike Johnson? Mike Johnson is a 51-year-old, so not too young.
Yeah,
not too old.
Right. Okay.
Fourth term, so he hasn't been there forever, congressionally speaking. He is he's in his 7th year in the Congress, so he knows where the bathrooms are. He's the House Republican Conference vice chair.
He knows not to pull fire alarms to get out. of
Yes, he
certain
knows
areas.
that.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Unlike the Democrats.
Yep.
He has a pair of degrees from Louisiana State University, and he has seats on the very important and powerful Judiciary and Armed Services Committee. So, right there leads me to believe he's a pretty smart, serious congressperson.
Right. And at the very least, the previous speaker who appointed him to those those positions had a certain level of confidence in him, which is probably where his crossover support may be coming from.
That's a really good point, Gabe. His district, the district of Mike Johnson, congressman from Louisiana, current speaker designee by the Republican conference, hugs the western part of Louisiana and is as red as they come.
Okay.
It's also home, Gabe, you'll find this interesting, to some very large military facilities, including Barksdale Air Force Base and Fort Johnson.
Okay, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Also notable is he could being the very operative word here.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody who tells you they know what's going to happen today, you might as well also buy a bridge in Brooklyn from them, because you got just as much chance of being correct on both of those.
Mm-hmm.
He could be the first former chair of the Conservative Republican Study Committee. So he was a former chair of the RSC, which is kind of like they style themselves. They're not the House Freedom Caucus, but what the House Freedom Caucus is more of a political group, you know?
These guys are more think tanky.
They're more the think tanky wonky guys who
Okay.
sit around and come up with the conservative conscience solutions to the nation's problems. I like that too.
Yeah, I'm liking what I'm hearing so far.
He's also, it's funny because this article is, they're almost shocked, Gabe, that someone this normal could be considered for speaker next.
Mm-hmm.
He's the son, he's an everyman. He's the son of a Shreveport firefighter who had been badly injured and disabled on the job. The now congressman worked as a college professor, a conservative talk radio show host.
Whoa.
There's hope for all of us.
Yeah.
And a columnist. So he's a writer too. I always like writers.
Mhm.
That means they're able to put thoughts into action.
Yes.
It was his roles on behalf of several religious groups, Stell, something here for everybody this morning.
Yeah, man.
As an attorney and spokesperson that launched his political career. He's married with 4 children. And this is the line that I thought was most hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
This is where this is I'm reading from like one of these gossip rags that comes out every morning.
Yeah. They're trying to put their little puppies together.
If
Mhm.
he's elected, Johnson will enter the speakership as a man with exceedingly modest means. Johnson has at least $280,000 in debt and no disclosed assets. Let me explain that. Let me explain what that means. Every Congress person has to file a financial disclosure statement. We had to do
Right.
them in the Missouri House as well every year.
So here are my assets, here are my debts, and and then my income.
And they do it in ranges. Okay.
Mhm.
So you know what the debt is?
Mm-hmm.
It's a mortgage.
It's a mortgage. That's what it sounds like.
Shiver me timbers.
It's
Oh my
amazing.
God, the guy has a mortgage.
He has a mortgage.
How bizarre. You
That's
mean he
interesting.
doesn't live in a cash paid you mean he
$2.5
doesn't live in a
million
$2.5 million beach house that
was paid for by cash?
His son Hunter gave him in cash? How weird, Gabe. Why doesn't he just pay in cash?
You know what? Actually, that's one of the brightest spots of all the things that you just talked about, because we just on this show not too long ago, we talked about the grift that comes with being in these various positions. How they say, hey, nice business, shame if some legislation would happen to it. They managed to get their insider trading going. So you walk in to Congress as a thousandaire and you leave a multimillionaire somehow. And for some reason, this guy seems not to have participated in that grift, and that is the biggest plus to me that I've heard yet.
Isn't it fascinating and notable that DC Gossip News finds it notable that this guy has a mortgage?
Yeah, exactly.
That he's apparently paying off.
He's a man of modest means, they say. Wait, he has a mortgage like all of the rest
Like
of us?
most of the rest of America, except Gabe,
Yeah.
the elitist upper crust,
Yeah.
all the blue hairs and the pinky raisers up in DC.
Yeah,
Most of
exactly.
the rest of Congress, right?
Yeah, 'cause
So
they paid it off in all that grift money.
in addition to his congressional salary, you are allowed to have some level of modest additional income in addition to your congressional salary. You're allowed to do some things. Stell, guess what he has as an additional $29,000 in income last year? He taught online courses for Liberty University.
Oh, no kidding.
I took some courses at
How about
Liberty
that?
Online.
And his
Wow,
wife,
okay.
his wife works for Onward Christian Education Services and the Louisiana Right to Life Educational Committee. Oh my God, these people believe in God. I think they probably go to church.
Yep, they probably put all that into action as
And
best they
they
can.
have a mortgage. What is the world coming to, Gabe? We're turning the United States of America over to the believing peasant class.
Skip speaker, make him president. It's like he's the most normal guy we can think of, I guess.
Holy crap, how's this guy going to become speaker? Maybe that's how he will become speaker, because
Maybe.
nobody knows what to do with him. So like I said, the conservatives are like, yeah, just be quiet. He was on the Republican study committee. We won't mention that too much. And the moderates are going, well, he hasn't made me take any tough votes yet, so I'm not sure what I can complain about.
This is great.
But then we may be disappointed as to how he rules. We don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah,
We
who
don't
knows?
know. We don't know.
We never do.
Which is why he'll probably become speaker. They're probably going to roll the dice and bet on this guy. If I'm a betting man,
Mhm.
I'm probably putting my chips on this fella. If they don't elect this guy,
Mhm.
I do think they're going to get royally screwed with some kind of uniparty,
Oh
bipartisan
my gosh.
type of consensus compromise candidate, and
Ugh.
none of us are going to be happy.
Mm.
We'll continue to delve into Congressman Mike Johnson, who may be your next House Speaker. Tell you everything you need to know when we come back on the Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show. We're going to talk about state unfunded pension liabilities and more at 6:35 with Lee Schulk. Keep it right here, 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL.
To give me more information.
We give you news, analysis, opinion, and more. Only on News Talk STL. Get up, St. Louis. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Stop right now. I have had enough of this. Turn my eyes to your indifference. Stop right now. You're gonna blow us all away.
Now, the Free Market Minute, brought to you by the Hammond Institute for Free Enterprise at Lindenwood University.
I am here with Dr. Howard Wall. Howard, this economy has been tough on a lot of people, and some people just say, listen, tax those rich people more. That'll help.
Well, count me as one of the few people who are willing to say that rich people pay too big a share of taxes. You heard that right. I think rich people might need a tax break.
Well, wait a minute. There's going to be some people that don't like that.
Well, you might be surprised to learn that, the top 20% provide more than 2/3 of federal tax revenue already. That's more than triple the share paid by the next 20%, are also pretty well off. I'm not saying tax share shouldn't rise with income, but I think we're at a point where some ideas are more about envy than about fairness.
The John W. Hammond Institute for Free Enterprise at Lindenwood University fosters and examines market-oriented approaches to economic and social issues. To learn more, visit hammondinstitute.org.
The Vic Porcelli Show. Here's the host of Wheel of Audio Clips, Vic Porcelli.
Thank you, Jim Osmond, very much. Thank you, everybody. Thanks to our studio audience for coming. I get sick of myself. I swear to God. I can only imagine somebody who listens to the show. I'm just sick of myself. Somebody had a song called Sick of Myself. I touch myself? You talking about that one? Only at night, kid. Oh, you talking about songs? That was a divine also. Sorry. I thought you get into my personal life.
Vic Porcelli, weekday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL.
Hey, Columbo here for Rockwood Charcoal. I love to grill and definitely prefer using charcoal over gas. And ever since I met Jonathan Heslop and he introduced me to his product, Rockwood Lump Charcoal, I can't use anything else. Rockwood is made from 100% pure Missouri oak and hickory and has been the nationally highest consumer-ranked charcoal for several years. So you're cooking with the best and supporting local industry and a local business all at once. Doesn't get any better than that. There's over 100 area Rockwood retailers. Find yours at rockwoodcharcoal.com.
I'm Susie Moore, and this is More to the Point. I was 11 years old when 52 Americans were taken hostage at the U.S. Embassy in Tehran in 1979. Though I don't recall all of the details, I do recall that they were held for 444 days, and that during their captivity, at the suggestion of one hostage's family member, Americans took to tying yellow ribbons around trees to symbolize their hope that the hostages would be safely returned home, a gesture inspired by the popular Tony Orlando and Dawn song. I've been thinking about those yellow ribbons quite a bit lately. In the immediate aftermath of the horrific attacks by Hamas on Israel October 7th, my thoughts were on the lives lost and the evil visited upon the victims. Given the barbarity of the attack, my assumption was that those taken hostage were not long for this world. Yet clearly there are hostages still being held, north of 200 if the information is accurate. And while so much of the focus of the past 2.5 weeks has been on the unfolding conflict in the Middle East and on the stomach-turning protests in support of Hamas, even here in the U.S., it's important to remember the hostages remain in Gaza, and it's important to hold out hope for them, that they too will be coming home.
Susie Moore is Deputy Managing Editor for RedState.com. For more to the point and everything Susie Moore, log on to RedState.com. Follow Susie on Twitter at SmoozyQ and keep listening to 1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL. This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning is brought to you by Stifel. Request a portfolio review from your Stifel financial advisor at Stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
This is Ron Clutho, and I've got some great stories for you. Join me on Saturday night at 10 p.m. for Stories of New Americans. Right now, let's get back to more of Mike Ferguson in the Morning on News Talk STL.
In this administration, America will be the place where great science happens. You know, starting on day one, in the middle of the pandemic, we vaccinated a nation, the greatest operational effort ever undertaken by this country, operational. And we did it with a strategy based on science, not on politics. Now, scientists are exploring whether the mRNA technology that brought us safe and effective COVID vaccines can be used against cancer.
He vaccinated the nation, Gabe. Yay!
Sure did. Yeah. That's working out great, isn't it?
Man, if you listen to Joe Biden just from you don't even have to go back 10 years. Go back to the beginning of his presidency. Listen to the speech he gave on Inauguration Day and compare it to now. This guy is, I'm sorry, he's like the Walking Dead. I mean, this is getting rough.
Oh, gosh.
This is to the point where he's not going to campaign.
No, I mean, his last campaign was from his basement, right? So how is he going to manage this one?
This is going to be from the old folks' home.
Yeah, sure. Hopefully. maybe from a retirement home.
Yes, yes. Producer Stell going way back there with an appropriate tune, only the beginning.
Going back to my high school years.
Yeah, man, that's some classic Chicago right there. That's good stuff indeed. One of my favorite tunes from Chicago. Welcome back to the program. It is 6:25 in the a.m. here at 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL. Mike Ferguson in the morning. Tim Jones in the big chair for Michael today. We've got Gabe Pfeiffer, of course, a.k.a. St. John the Philosopher, and producer Stell on the wheels of steel. Coming up at 6:35, fellas, we're going to talk to a friend of mine who I know has been on the station before. He works for a group that I do some work for, the American Legislative Exchange Council, which is a nationwide trade association for state legislators. Gabe, they try to come up with solutions to actual solutions to actual problems. And because D.C. is so dysfunctional, Alec works in the laboratories of democracy in the states.
I see. All right. Good way to go.
Several things that Alec has recently published. They revamped and redid their measuring stick on public schools, Gabe. And so they've looked at the 50 states and created a new scorecard. We talked to Andrew Handel about that last week. Lee is also an expert in the tax and fiscal matters. And one of the other things he can talk to us about is the unfunded liability pension bomb we have going on. So every state and the federal government has a series of pension funds that it's holding for people who have pensions. And, I know pensions are not as familiar probably to Gabe, probably our generation, Gabe, is going to be the last that are going to have any sort of significant pension. I think pensions aren't going to disappear, but like the days of the days of most of America having a pension they can rely on in addition to Social Security are probably over.
Oh, absolutely.
But what's not over is all of the liabilities, because all those folks are now retiring and saying, show me the money that you said you were going to. Show me the money that you promised that you would show me at this point in my life.
Yeah. And I actually do think pensions are going the way of the dodo. I think the only people still holding on to those are the unions because of the inherent nature of pensions, which is a guarantee. The unions always are trying to negotiate guaranteed labor rates, guaranteed levels of employment, stuff like that. So they managed to continue a lot of the guaranteed retirement income systems, and that's the pensions. And in particular, the public union pensions, those are the ones that are going to tank absolutely Illinois, among other states who have a lot of unfunded liabilities. And I think referring to it as a bomb is exactly right.
And there's even some red states that have to deal with this because up until recently, many red states, especially in the South, were governed by Democrats. So you guys may be surprised to know, and this may have changed, but last time I looked at Alex's scorecard, Kentucky had the worst unfunded pension liabilities in the country.
Really?
But let's remember, Kentucky's House was governed by Democrats since the Civil War up until 2017. So only as of 2017 did Republicans get a trifecta in Kentucky. And so now they got to try to clean up all the problems that the previous 100 plus years of Democratic reign did in their state. So we're going to talk to Lee about what those solutions are. Many of you may have pensions, or your parents or grandparents may have pensions. So yes, there's a lot of horror here, but there's also solutions. And that's what Alec comes up with. We're also going to talk about what should we be working on in Missouri? You know, what should we be calling our senators and representatives about now? And folks, for those of you who care, and you should care what happens to you in Jefferson City, because those are the laws that affect you more quickly and more locally. It's very entertaining and interesting and important to watch what's going on in DC. And that's why we cover the federal, the national, the international issues so well. But every state has a state government, and we've got one here in Missouri that is allegedly a Republican trifecta, but has gotten nowhere near the accomplishments done of some of our neighboring states like Iowa and Arkansas and Oklahoma and Tennessee and Kentucky. And so we're going to talk to Lee about what should they be looking to do with in an environment where you have a federal government that is now $33 trillion in debt. So we've got a lot to get to there. At 7:15, we're going to bring in one of those state leaders, Missouri State Senator Bill Eigel, candidate for governor. We're going to talk about the 2024 electoral primary. Did you realize that the August primary is less than 10 months away? And we have some very important decisions to make because pretty much all the seats are open seats. There's a couple of incumbents in there, but they're new incumbents. They were installed by current Governor Mike Parson, who's termed out next year. So all these seats are open. Missouri State Senator Bill Eigel is going to be pursuing the top spot, and he has a solution to this issue of foreign ownership of our land. And it's a little above and beyond what you may have heard up to this point. So very interesting indeed there. 6:30 here in the Heartland. Let's get to a break now so we can bring in the aforementioned Lee Schulk, Vice President of Policy of the American Legislative Exchange Council. Talk about all of those issues and more. And, at 6:45, if any of that conversation stirs you, we can take your phone calls. 314-912-1019, 314-912-1019. Lee Schulk is next after this information break on the Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show, 1019, 94.1. This is News Talk STL.
This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, 99.1 HD3 and newstalkstl.com.
Doesn't matter where we are or what we're doing. I'm with you, that's all that matters. Time passes much too quickly.
From the Michael's Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Clouds in control today and a spot shower or two kicking around, mainly this morning. The afternoon trends dry, but the clouds are going to stick for much of the day. It's still mild for this time of year, a high of 79 this afternoon, and breezy too. Winds out of the south, maybe a few gusts up to about 25 miles per hour. Some dry time tonight, partly cloudy down to 64, but right back into the rain chances Thursday afternoon, about a 40% chance. And this unsettled pattern continues right through the weekend. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
Hey, I'm here with one of our great friends, Rob Connor from Connor Roofing. I talk about all the time who to trust, and trusting a company is everything to me. Why do people trust Connor Roofing?
Well, 30 years of being an honest roofing company that you can call and get an honest opinion on your project. We've got thousands of customers that are very happy that they did call us.
If there's a storm, the shingles fly off the house, first thing you should do is call 314-375-7475. That's how you get in touch with Connor Roofing or connorroofing.com. That's CONNER roofing.com.
Major phone carriers make you sign contracts with rigid data plans to trap you into a kind of forced phonogamy. Sounds pretty insecure if you ask me. At Consumer Cellular, we believe in a more consensual and healthy form of phonogamy, free of contracts and more flexible to your data needs. This way, you stick around not because we force you to with contracts and fees, but because you love our phone plans. Like ardently love our phone plans. Phonogamously. Consumer Cellular. When freedom calls, we're here to answer. Call us at 1-888-FREEDOM.
What's for dinner? Burgers?
After last week, no thanks.
Avoiding foods due to fear of diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose, oily stools? It may not be just stomach issues. It could be EPI, or exocrine pancreatic insufficiency. EPI can cause uncomfortable symptoms because it's a condition where the pancreas doesn't release enough digestive enzymes to break down food. But EPI can be managed. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and talk to your doctor about your symptoms. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
If you find yourself feeling out of place in the world, it's comforting to know conservative values haven't been abandoned everywhere.
The far left wants to destroy conservative values in America.
This is News Talk STL. Welcome home.
Hello, morning people. Tony Colombo and Katie Fitzpatrick here.
Thanks for listening to Mike Ferguson in the Morning here on News Talk STL. And don't forget to join us today at 2 for Colombo and Katie.
See you then.
Why do you think you're in a bad place?
We've been 3 weeks without a speaker. We let 8 people work with every single Democrat to put us in here to go directly against what our conference rules say, that if you do a motion to vacate, you have to have 50% of the conference. And so now we're in a situation where remove the speaker, remove the majority leader from being speaker, remove Jim Jordan from being speaker, every single person that's won. And now we've just gone through a battle with elections of 9 people, 1-1. And now when we had a roll call vote, you can get 217. But what?
Former House Speaker Kevin McCarthy talking about the latest and not so greatest going on up in Capitol Hill. Joining us now from the land of make-believe, the land of nod, is Lee Schulk, Vice President for Policy at the American Legislative Exchange Council. Lee, good morning to you. Welcome back to News Talk STL. Thanks for being with us today.
Thanks for having me, Tim, and good morning from Washington, D.C. It certainly is spooky season here in the nation's capital.
Yes, it is. Lee, do you care to read any tea leaves? We're trying to figure out who this Mike Johnson character is. He seems like a good duck, but we're largely unfamiliar with him. I was reading his bio earlier, and we were talking a little bit about him, and I like the fact that he's a former chair of the Republican Study Committee, kind of the conscience of the House Republican majority. Do you know anything more about him? Do you any nuggets you'd like to drop on our audience here in the Heartland?
Well, I tell you what, it's hard to keep track of the nominees here and figure out. It seems like day by day we've got a different name tossed around, but it really is sad. You know, we don't have a Speaker of the House. It feels like we've been going for weeks now. Of course, in the White House, we're not sure if anyone's home. And so, again, Washington, D.C. is really, I think, letting down the American people, which puts all the more focus on the states and what we can get done in state capitals.
Good morning, Lee. Gabe Pfeiffer here. Just wanted to segue a little bit to another topic. When I got to my job, I have a day job as an engineer, but when I got to my job, I noticed there was a significant difference in the numbers of people who were basically of retirement age versus me coming in as a bright-eyed, bushy-tailed college graduate. So, and I looked at it and I said, this is a demographic bomb. When these guys decide to leave, they're going to take a lot of their expertise with us, and we're going to be in trouble. And I'm looking at something similar in reference to the pension liabilities that a lot of states are carrying, where I think that bomb is pretty much going off in slow motion as a lot of people are taking their retirement and their pension liabilities for these states are going up. What's going on with these things? Is this a situation we can get out of?
Well, you're right. It is a ticking time bomb. We looked at the unfunded public pension liabilities across the 50 states. It totals up to over $7 trillion nationwide. That's $21,000 per person. That's every man, woman, and child in the United States. And there's a couple of things to keep in mind here. One, of course, we want to keep the pension promises that we've made to public sector workers, right? These are retirements that they're relying on. But also, we've got to protect taxpayers. These unfunded pension plans, these are bills that are going to come due, really what will amount to future tax increases And so we've got to figure out a way to transition over to 401k style plans. Some states have been successful with this, North Dakota being the most recent example. But if you look across the country, there are some good examples of pension reform that have taken place, but also some states that are really drowning in these unfunded pension liabilities.
Mm-hmm. Speaking to Lee Shulk, Vice President of Policy at the American Legislative Exchange Council, you can find out all the things that ALEC is working on at alec.org. Well, Lee, as we discussed, we'll see whether or not the U.S. House gets a speaker. But thankfully, as far as I'm aware, all of the 50 states do have functional legislatures. They have speakers, they have floor leaders, they have presidents of the Senate. Lee, there's a lot of activity going on in the states. And, you know, as much as the national press likes to ignore it, there is a movement going on in the country, isn't there, Lee, where people are starting to vote with their feet. And they're moving to states that, you know, ALEC, I think, takes a lot of pride in, the states that exemplify the ALEC motto of limited government, of federalism, and of free markets. Lee, am I imagining that, or are all the stories and the podcasts and the discussions and the interviews that I'm seeing and hearing, which are reflecting this massive income migration, actually going on in the country or not?
Tim, you're exactly right. And that's the beauty of our 50 laboratories of democracy. At ALEC, we're all about bringing together state leaders to exchange ideas, best practices, as you mentioned, all centered around those core principles. Because when states compete for economic growth and opportunity, when states try to create better economies, the American people win when we create opportunity. And so you're right. There's been a huge migration of taxpayers, of American citizens, leaving states like California, New York, New Jersey, to places with more opportunity, with lower taxes, places like Florida, North Carolina, Texas, Arizona. I could go on. But what we've seen, and we've talked about this so many times in ALEC's Rich States, Poor States publication. You can check that out at richstatespoorstates.org. But it really is important when we talk about our tax and economic policies, fostering growth. And that really goes a long way to attract businesses and individuals and help everybody thrive.
Speaking of taxpayer rights, we've got the Taxpayer Bill of Rights. I think that's up for debate. Where is it right now?
It's under attack.
It's under attack. Well, there is that aspect of it. Tell us a little bit. First of all, for those of us who haven't heard of this, tell us what the Taxpayer Bill of Rights is and who's going after it.
Absolutely. So TABOR, or the Taxpayers Bill of Rights, this is a constitutional amendment in Colorado. And really, since 1992, this is the only thing stopping Colorado from becoming California. Now, we've seen so many changes in Colorado over the years, but thankfully, tax burdens have remained relatively low, especially when you look at the income tax rates. But TABOR, the way it works is it limits tax burdens and government spending to inflation plus population growth. So if the government is collecting revenue above the TABOR limit, all of that gets sent back to taxpayers in the form of a TABOR refund. Now, there's a ballot measure. There's a ballot measure, Prop HH, which is threatening to undo TABOR this November. Really a bait and switch, alleged property tax cuts, but TABOR refunds will disappear. And so this is really, again, from the progressives in Colorado and the governor, it's under attack, but something to keep an eye on because it's such a great example of a great constitutional amendment that other states should consider.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Lee, Colorado has TABOR, the Taxpayer Bill of Rights. Here in Missouri, we've got something called the Hancock Amendment, which tends to limit government from growing beyond its means. But Lee, a lot of states, even the red Republican ones, don't have a lot of restraints on the appropriators, whether the appropriators are Republicans or Democrats. Lee, why do you think that is? Is it because the appropriators, no matter what political party they are, they don't want to be told how much money they can spend?
Well, you're right, Tim. In Missouri, they have the Hancock Amendment since 1980. That's tied to personal income tax growth. But yeah, it's the elephant in the room, right? It's no pun intended there, but it doesn't matter, Republicans or Democrats. We have a huge spending problem at all levels of government, not just the federal government. State and local spending growth has ballooned over 40% over the last 40 years by 90%. And so we often say taxes and spending, they're the same, two sides of the same fiscal coin. If you can't get your spending in check, you're going to suffer through higher tax rates as well. And so it's so critical to have constitutional amendments like Tabor in place to put those extra checks and balances on spending growth.
Wise words indeed. You can't just cut taxes. You gotta definitely watch your spending and spend appropriately. Lee, before we let you go, another publication. We've talked about the unaccountable and unaffordable pension reform. You can find that at ALEC.org. We've talked about rich states, poor states. You can find that at ALEC.org or at richstatespoorstates.org. State education freedom. Lee, we spoke with Andrew Handel from your education task force last week. One thing I noticed additionally for people to check out on the ALEC website is the fact that ALEC celebrated 50 years, its 50th anniversary. I was very happy to be a part of that a few weeks ago in Washington, D.C., born out of the spirit of the Reagan Revolution. And Lee, I know in that video of 50 years of trusted policy solutions, you highlight not just the states that always jump to mind under these topics of Florida and Texas and so on and so forth. But Lee, there's also a revolution happening here in the heartland in the Midwest, right? With the lady leaders that we've got to our north and south, Governor Kim Reynolds in Iowa, Sarah Huckabee Sanders down in Arkansas. We here in Missouri, Lee, we better get our act together, right, and start moving forward on some of these issues of tax cuts and tax reform, educational choice. And making sure that our state government is focused on the right things, because we're seeing kind of that revolution 50 years later here in the heartland, aren't we?
You certainly are. And Tim, if there's one thing we've learned over the past 50 years at ALEC, it's that states can fall behind by standing still. And the Midwest there is getting increasingly competitive. Of course, Iowa they came out swinging last year with both tax cuts, major tax reform, flattening and lowering income tax rates, but also with universal education freedom policies, education savings accounts that every student in the state is eligible for. We've seen the same thing in Arkansas, to your point, Governor Sanders and just a great group of lawmakers there in Arkansas, also with the universal school choice, seeking ways to lower tax burdens. And so you're right, as you compete for businesses, as you try to create more competitive environments, that will be critical to step on the gas and not to sit back and rest on your laurels.
Could not agree more. Lee Schalk, who is the Vice President of Policy at the American Legislative Exchange Council, ALEC.org, has been our guest here this morning. Lee, this was an excellent conversation. Thanks so much for joining us this morning, and we'll look forward to speaking with you in the near future as our legislature gets back to work in the 2024 session.
Thank you, Tim. Great speaking with you as always.
You too as well.
Thanks,
Check them
Lee.
out, folks, at ALEC.org. They really are. And I don't say this just because I've been a member of ALEC since I was a legislator. And you know who was my, so what ALEC does is they ask each of the state, it's a voluntary organization. You choose to join ALEC. It's not like a union or something, Gabe, where you're basically forced to join.
Right.
You choose as a legislator what groups you want to join. And ALEC is completely voluntary. And when you join that organization, you then have opportunities within the organization. And I took advantage of those. And I was one of the public sector co-chairs when I was an elected official. You know who my other co-chair was?
Who was your
current Congressman, Ways and Means Chairman, Jason Smith.
No way.
So we've all gone on to bigger and better
Wow,
things. How
okay.
about that?
All right.
So ALEC does create the leaders of tomorrow today. So they're a great organization. I've been a member. I'm happy to work with them as we speak. And they've just got such great spokespeople, great spokesmen like Lee Schalk. All right, 646 in the Heartland. Anything we've said that you'd like to weigh on this morning? What do you think about this Mike Johnson guy who is possibly, maybe, could be the next speaker? Odds in Vegas, Gabe, do we know those yet?
Oh, yeah, I'm going to have to look those up.
That would be funny. Maybe a little Nate Silver, check in on him and more. If you'd like to weigh in on anything we've been discussing or anything we haven't gotten to yet today, bring it to our attention. Give us a holler, 314-912-1019. 314-912-1019 at 7:15. What solution, speaking of state legislative solutions, has Senator Bill Eigel, candidate for governor, come up regarding this foreign ownership of land? Why are we letting the Chinese run our farms? We'll talk to the good senator about that at 7:15. Got lots more straight ahead here at 1019 94.1 News Talk STL.
Like and subscribe to us on Rumble. News Talk STL. Get up, St. Louis. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Some perfect world we know we'll never find. So perhaps I should leave here. Yeah, go far away.
Thanks for taking my call. News, analysis, opinion.
Radio news junkie.
Love every bit about it.
News Talk STL.
Hi, Sean Long for STL FenceWorks. STL FenceWorks is proud and excited to install American-made aluminum and vinyl fence products, as well as American-made decking. For instance, STL FenceWorks has teamed up with Jareth Manufacturing. Jareth invented the aluminum fence industry over 50 years ago. The Jareth product is wholly sourced and manufactured in the U.S., and STL FenceWorks is the third largest Jareth customer in the world. STL FenceWorks is vinyl fencing also, and not just white. We partner with National Vinyl Products to provide you with tan, clay, gray, and variegated wood grain vinyl fence products too, all made in the U.S. Not to be forgotten, STL FenceWorks is maintenance-free decking. STL FenceWorks is the #1 distributor of Wolf Cellular PVC in the Midwest, proudly manufactured in the U.S. and voted #1 maintenance-free decking product in the United States. Let STL FenceWorks make your outdoor space magical. Visit stlfenceworks.com today and learn how we can make your backyard dreams into a reality. At STL FenceWorks, your satisfaction is our passion.
Hey, Colombo here, reminding you that cybersecurity has never been more important, so you need to ask yourself, is your business prepared for a possible ransomware attack? And if you have any doubt, you need to call the team at ThrottleNet today. ThrottleNet provides world-class managed IT services and IT support to many local organizations, including my family's own small business. They're St. Louis's highest rated and most reviewed outsourced IT company, and there's many different ways ThrottleNet can help with your business's operation and digital protection. Learn more now at throttlenet.com.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness 101. Wellness 101 is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense, science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on News Talk STL. For more information, visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the morning is brought to you by Stifel. Request a portfolio review from your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Good morning, St. Louis. It's Ben Shapiro. I'll talk to you tonight at 11. But right now, back to the Mike Ferguson Show on the new conservative voice of St. Louis, 1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
And so this playing footsie with Iran on, re-engaging on a nuclear deal, you got to put that in historical context. Barack Obama sent pallets of cash. President Trump came in. He cut all that off. Iran was broke. Hamas was broke. There were the Abraham Accords. Peace was flourishing in the Middle East. And then the Democrats and Joe Biden's obsession with Iran took over again. So you got the $6 billion, of course, that was going to be released recently. They are not enforcing any of the oil sanctions. They could be doing that right now. Iran is flush with cash, which means Hamas is flush with cash. Joe Biden came in, released $300+ million of the Palestinian Authority when he came in. That was cut off during the Trump administration. So what does all that mean? It means that they've got a lot of money to do terrible things.
The junior senator from the great state of Missouri, U.S. Senator Eric Schmidt, on something that needs to be just talked about more. Gabe, what is the fascination with Democratic administrations trying to appease the largest state sponsor of terror on the world stage?
Well, I think it's similar to their stance on education. They say, hey, look, here's a broken system. Let's throw money at it, and that'll fix it.
So they're doing the same thing on the international front.
Exactly.
The problem is, Gabe, on the international front, well, as far as I know, they may be working on it, but the teachers' unions are not trying to develop nuclear weapons.
True.
They might
That's
be.
True. That's true.
They might be.
You might not put it past them. Now, of course, these are education majors, so it's going to be made of paper mache.
Yeah.
But
They'll do a collage.
A good collage of it. But still, yes. I mean, and it's going to be fabulous. Whatever they do.
Fabuloso.
But
Iran is developing
Iran
nuclear weapons.
Actually is, yeah. And we keep throwing money at it.
And that's another thing the Biden administration doesn't seem to know what to do about. Do you get the sense, Gabe, that when I always get this feeling. I wonder if you get the same feeling that when KJP, who got in some real trouble for her squishy comments,
the dodge
on the evils of anti-Semitism, that's kind
Mhm.
of a layup. Yeah, anti-Semitism is bad.
Yeah, it's like it's like the Biden administration stands with the Jewish Americans, and we stand against. It's so easy. It's a child could have said, it's like, yeah, that's bad, and that answer would have been better than what she did.
Can't you see the internal war and conflict going on behind her eyes?
Oh,
she
gosh.
is such a hardcore leftist progressive.
Yes.
You know that she would rather support the squad than what's currently coming out of the Biden administration, which to their credit, they haven't said it, I think, well enough, but at least they've said the right kinds of words about standing with Israel.
Yeah, I mean, when he properly assembles his words, they do tend to come out at least right on what the American stand should be vis-a-vis Israel and Hamas. But yeah, the hard leftists in his administration, they're kind of grinding their teeth about the words that he has to say. Now, Joe Biden seems nonplussed about the whole thing, but he doesn't really know what he's saying anyway.
He doesn't really. Oatmeal brains there is just kind of, he'll go back to the beach again, to the beach house.
Yeah,
that was
exactly.
Paid in cash.
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing, Gabe? Nobody,
$2.5 million house.
Nobody in the National Press Corps has any, forget about having a problem with it. They have zero intellectual curiosity as to how a guy who's largely made less than $200,000 every year of his life.
Yes.
Right?
His entire life.
His entire life, with the exception of the 8-year stint as vice president and now 3 years as president. Okay. So he's done well in his later years.
Yeah.
But for most of his life as a U.S. senator, he was paid less than $200,000 a year. And somehow he has not one, but 2 multi-million-dollar homes in Delaware.
Yeah.
One of them very prized, valuable beachfront property,
which he paid for in cash.
Cash.
I mean, here's the thing. It would make more sense if he had a mortgage. Like
Yes.
like
Congressman Johnson,
our prospective speaker. Yes, Congressman, he actually has a mortgage. But Joe managed to finance a $2.5 million house just from savings, as they say, or liquidating some other asset.
What does that say about the National Press Corps, Gabe? Does it say that they're just covering for their guy again, and that they're all in cahoots with this together? Or is it because they find it not unusual at all that someone who has spent their entire lives in federal public service, of course, is able to afford multi-million-dollar properties, because that's the expectation?
Oh, wow. I mean, that's a really good question, Tim. Okay, so is it stupidity or incompetence? It's like that's the actual question.
You know what the answer to that is? Yes.
Yes.
Yes, and move on.
Yes, exactly.
So, I go back to this, the statement that Senator Schmidt made. I can't get past why in the world the Obama, Biden, and now the Biden-Harris administration wants to give the world's largest state sponsor of terror billions of dollars and everything they ask for. In addition to that, this is a nation state that believes in things that the liberal left in our country claims to be against. The liberal left in our country claims to be against autocratic theocracies.
Yes.
They claim to be against civilizations and cultures that treat women as second-class citizens.
Yeah.
They claim to be against countries that literally, if they find out that you are gay, if you are LGBTQXYZ, you don't have no rights there.
No.
You don't get to talk in the public square. You get stoned to death, basically.
You get death. You have a right to death.
Yeah, and women are lucky if they can drive a car in some of these countries. So that is also amazing to me that they're able to look past all of that, and they still want to fund their terrorist operations.
The rainbow flag next to the Palestinian flag is one of the dumbest things I've ever seen come out of Washington, and that's saying a lot, considering what we have seen from them. And yet we see it all the time, especially at these big rallies. I saw a sign that said reproductive rights mean a free Palestine.
What?
I don't even know what that means.
Those words are gobbledygook. That's not English.
It was a gigantic sign too, like the kind that they walk in front of a big parade. It's like, what are you doing? What do you say? Do you know anything about anything?
It's truly remarkable. It really is.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? There is some bright spots emerging in the speaking of the weird rainbow flag coalition movement, there are some major stories out today that we can talk about when we come back. Did you know that some of these folks who I will argue were forced to transition, they're now fighting back and they're getting the lawyers involved? And I say, hell yeah.
Yeah, let's go.
I got some news on that when we return. And we're going to speak to Missouri State Senator Bill Eigel about his solution for the foreign ownership of our land. 1019 94.1 News Talk STL.
I have only one recommendation for you when it comes to jewelry. Vincent's Jewelers. I've had Vincent's custom make some pieces for me. I bought quality pieces right out of the case. Vincent's locally owned, supporting local charities for more than 42 years. Check their website daily for new items or specials. VincentsJewelers.com. VincentsJewelers.com. Give Vincent's a chance for your business. Vincent's, my only jeweler.
News Talk STL is proud to have Doug Voss as part of our lineup every week. Doug has been a staple on St. Louis radio for many years as one of the leading financial experts in the area. You can hear Doug and Safe Money Radio 3 times every weekend on News Talk STL. And in case you miss anything, you can check it all out at DougVossSafeMoneyRadio.com. What else do our listeners need to know, Doug?
Simply put, I focus on helping pre-retirees and retirees build, preserve, and protect retirement assets, and I've been helping my clients solve their insurance and financial needs for the past 33 years. I also strive to educate my clients on how to prepare for retirement, minimize the impact of market volatility on their assets, and deal with the challenges of increased longevity. Call me today at 844-676-SAFE. That's 844-676-7233.
Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through DHL Securities, LLLP, member FINRA and SIPC.
Mystic Fix is sponsored by Kama Flight, redefining the dance between the masculine and feminine. Kama Flight is a somatic movement practice merging yoga, meditation, and massage. Workshops in 2023 are at the Chosen Retreat Center in Sebastian, Florida. For more, visit Kama Flight on Instagram at KAMAFLIGHT.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomason. Although there have already been more than a dozen such attacks, the Defense Department insists it will not stand idly by as Iranian proxies go after U.S. targets in the Mideast.
Pentagon spokesman Brigadier General Pat Ryder says the U.S. military is preparing for a likely escalation of hostilities in the Middle East.
We always reserve the right to defend ourselves, and we will never hesitate to take action when needed to protect our forces and our interests overseas.
Ryder says Iranian-supported forces attacked U.S. troops and installations in Iraq and Syria at least 13 times over the past week. Greg Clugston, Washington.
Israel is reporting some success in its ongoing series of airstrikes against Hamas in Gaza. Israel says it has killed terrorists, destroyed tunnels, command centers, weapons storehouses, and other military targets. Louisiana's Mike Johnson is the man. The latest one.
House Republicans on Tuesday evening chose Congressman Johnson as their latest nominee for House Speaker, hours after an earlier pick, Majority Whip Tom Emmer from Minnesota, abruptly withdrew in the face of opposition from former President Donald Trump and hardline GOP lawmakers. Johnson is the latest Republican to win the party's nomination for the role since former Speaker Kevin McCarthy was removed on October 3rd. The full House is scheduled to reconvene at noon Wednesday. That is the earliest a speaker could be elected by the full chamber. Edwin Mora, Washington.
Hurricane Otis has slammed into Mexico's southern Pacific coast as a catastrophic Category 5 hurricane, bringing 165-mile-per-hour winds and very heavy rains to Acapulco and nearby resort towns. Some areas could get up to 15 inches of rain. Watching Wall Street, Dow futures 64 points higher, NASDAQ futures down 76. More on these stories at townhall.com.
The following is not an actor, but a real-life story from Trinity Debt Management.
I'm Corey, and this is my story. I was going through some financial troubles paying off my credit cards. I was paying high interest rates, and it just wasn't getting any better. And I knew I had to do something. So my mom told me about Trinity, and so I decided to call. Trinity was able to do something that I couldn't. I'm paying off my debt, I'm saving thousands, and things are really looking up. I promise you guys, you will not regret it when you call Trinity, because it was such a relief and less stress in my life, and it was the best thing I could have done for myself, because once I called Trinity, they took care of me and I felt such a relief, a weight off my shoulders. Trinity was great to work with. They wanted to help me. I love it.
If you're in debt and you need help, call Trinity at 1-800-990-6976.
I'm Corey, and I'm debt-free for keeps.
1-800-990-6976.
From the Michael's Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Clouds in control today and a spot shower or two kicking around mainly this morning. The afternoon trends dry, but the clouds are going to stick for much of the day. It's still mild for this time of year, a high of 79 this afternoon, and breezy too. Winds out of the south, maybe a few gusts up to about 25 miles per hour. Some dry time tonight, partly cloudy down to 64, but right back into the rain chances Thursday afternoon, about a 40% chance. And this unsettled pattern continues right through the weekend. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Stifel, serving investors for over 130 years. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
I heard the call to serve, so I answered. I earned a title and discovered my purpose. I found belonging, an unbreakable bond with my fellow Marines. We fought to overcome adversity together in defense of our nation and its people. I've lived a full life, rich with meaning. And even though I no longer wear the uniform, I am still a Marine. My service has come full circle. I will always look after those around me. I will always uplift and support my country and my community, because that is the promise I made. That is what it means to be a Marine. Semper Fidelis, always faithful, always Marine.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning brought to you by Window World. Simply the best for less. 314-993-1800 or visit windowworld.com. Mike Ferguson,
You play ball like a girl!
Gabe Pfeiffer,
I triple saw stereo!
Get up! Get up! Can't you hear the alarm?
Get Up St. Louis,
So it's time to get out of bed. Pour yourself the greatest cup of Kofifi the world has ever seen. Rise up with one voice, drain the swamp, and take back our country. Today's the day we're going to do it, and it's time to do it right now, believe me.
Mike Ferguson in the Morning on News Talk STL.
Get up! Get up! This is your cousin.
Americans have been disgusted to see the open support for terrorists among the legions of foreign nationals on college campuses. They're teaching your children hate. They're teaching your children hate. Under the Trump administration, we will revoke the student visas of radical anti-American and anti-Semitic foreigners at our colleges and universities, and we will send them straight back home. They go back home. Enjoy your life.
Make America great again. Welcome back to the Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show. Tim Jones in the big chair today here at 1019 94.1 News Talk STL. It is 7:06 in the AM on a very balmy, it's got to be climate change, right? It's a climate change day here on Wednesday, October the 25th. What are they going to say, Gabe, on Saturday and Sunday when the high is 52
Climate change.
Climate change.
That's
yeah.
why. That's
it's
why
all. It's all bad.
That's
right?
all. It's all.
And it's all our fault.
It's all related to climate change. If something happens in any direction, it's climate change, and climate change is your fault.
It's man-made climate change.
Man-made climate change.
Right.
Exactly.
You never use the word seasons.
Yes.
Right.
Seasons don't exist. That's
Seasons,
all climate
change of weather. Yeah. Meteorology, as Stell would say.
Climate change.
I'm impressed I was able to say that word this early in the morning. I got it out. I'm not going to say it again. Very much. Welcome back to the program. We've got lots coming up. We're going to talk to Missouri State Senator Bill Eigel, who is running for governor here in the great state of Missouri. He's in a three-way primary, at least right now. There could be more. There could be less. I don't know. But right now there's three. Lieutenant Governor Mike Kehoe, Secretary of State Jay Ashcroft, and Missouri State Senator Bill Eigel running for that top spot next year. We've got all the seats open. Oh, I've got some news, fellas, about someone here in News Talk STL Nation.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know? Did you? You probably didn't see this yet. So, without getting too deep in the weeds, there's Lieutenant Governor is going to be open next year as well. Lieutenant Governor of the state of Missouri is going to be open because Mike Kehoe, Lieutenant Governor, is running for governor. So that seat will be vacated.
Right.
It'll be open. There's several people who have already declared their intention to run. Filing does not open. I want to point this out to people. All of these are intentions right now. Filing does not open until February and doesn't close until March.
So nothing's official until
Correct.
after you file.
Correct. So there are 4 people who have said they intend to run for lieutenant governor.
Mhm.
That would be Paul Berry III, who is a St. Louisan who's run for a bunch of offices in our region. That would be Tim Baker, who is a fellow out in Franklin County. He is the Franklin County clerk, I do believe. That is State Senator Holly Rader from Southeast Missouri and Speaker of the House Dean Plocker from here in St. Louis.
Wow. Okay.
Speaker Plocker has taken on some water in the last few weeks with a couple of, I would argue, as internal scandals
Mhm.
in the state of Missouri. He's under some fire for some things that some folks are saying that he did improperly. I'm not going to get into those right now because I would spend the whole segment explaining it. Let's just say that out of those 4, I would argue the 2 top contenders and the most well-known, and many of you may not even know these names yet, but that would be Speaker Dean Plocker and Senator Holly Rader.
Okay.
They've got significant war chests. They're known in their regions of the state, and
All
so they
right.
have somewhat of a base to run on. Well, with all of the incoming fire that Speaker Plocker has been taking, this little nugget developed overnight as well.
Mhm.
How about this headline from the Missouri Scout, which is our internal state gossip rag that I subscribe to. On the heels of the scandal rocking Speaker Dean Plocker, former Senator Bob Onder has made significant moves to enter the race for lieutenant governor.
No way.
He's done 2 things. The first thing is something a lot of people do, and I wouldn't put much stock in it.
Yeah.
And by the way, I will disclose this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know anything more than what I'm going to tell you now, but Bob and I are very close friends. We entered the House together back in 2006. So we go way back. Number 1, Senator Onder amended his campaign committee to say he's seeking statewide office.
Okay.
Okay, well, that's a lot of people do that.
Sure.
But it doesn't always mean something.
Okay.
Here's what does mean something, Gabe.
Mm-hmm.
And he dropped $500,000 into that campaign committee.
Well, dang. Okay.
Shot across the bow at the very least.
Yes, when the money starts moving, that's when the things are really getting heating up.
Bob has, I can tell you, the ability to do significant fundraising. He is extremely well known and well loved in the conservative community across the state of Missouri. He is especially loved in the pro-life community and in the community of those who want to cut taxes, provide educational choice, and do labor reform so workers have right. So basically, Gabe, he is a dyed-in-the-wool constitutional conservative.
Absolutely. And he is very much loved at News Talk STL.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, he is.
As you
So,
can hear him several times.
we might have to get Senator Onder on the airwaves here
Yeah.
on Friday.
And
when
pin him
I'm-
down on something
when I'm
here.
back in and maybe try to see if I can pin him down, So he's got a JD degree. He's a practicing doctor, but he can be squirmy, when I cross-examine him. But we'll see what develops there. So there's that news. I also want to make sure I lived up to my promise to tell you what's going on in the woke, weird world of the what do you call them, Gabe? The Rainbow Coalition community.
Oh yeah, the Rainbow people. Yeah, something like that. I don't know.
The Alphabet Caucus.
The Alphabet Mafia.
The Alphabet Mafia. Yeah.
Mhm.
Check this out. And you know what? It's going to take things like this next story to really turn this around, to really teach people that they shouldn't be lopping off otherwise healthy body parts and trying to transition kids at the tender ages of 7, 8, 9, or 10. Female detransitioner. So this is a woman who I presume was convinced that she needed to transition to a man.
Right.
So I think that's what that means. I get lost in some of the categoricals.
terminology. Yeah.
Female detransitioner sues the American Academy of Pediatrics for pushing youth gender transition.
Let's go. Absolutely. You got to go. You got to shoot for the top of this. And they are among the biggest and most fervent supporters of this whole thing. So absolutely.
Look, I'm not a big fan of an overly litigious society. I am one of those lawyers that, yes, I handled a plaintiff's case every once in a while, but I was also one of those lawyers who the plaintiff's bar did not care for so much, because when I was in the legislature, I did quite a bit of tort reform. But I do believe you need to have access to the courts for your grievances. I don't believe in so much tort reform that nobody can ever bring a lawsuit anymore.
Right.
And Gabe, nothing gets somebody's attention to stop doing stupid things than multi-million-dollar lawsuits, does it?
Yes, exactly. Especially these massive organizations that have the deep pockets. They have lawyers on retainer and stuff like that. But they also have a bottom line that they have to meet. So when that bottom line gets threatened, and credibly so, they have to pay attention.
Yeah, they could say, there's a lot of money in this crazy ideology, but maybe we should stop doing stupid things.
Yes, exactly.
Gabe, Stel, I got another story for you.
Yeah, please.
And following up on this, check this out. And I think we've talked about this before. Why do we not learn from other countries who have already done stupid things and have decided not to do them anymore? The UK is continuing to see a massive shift against trans ideology.
Okay, they're moving.
So across the pond, they're more socialistically liberal than us.
Yes.
And so they've done a lot of this experimentation, and now they're pulling back. And you could argue, Gabe, that one of their biggest prognosticators over there is the ultra liberal feminist J.K. Rowling.
Oh yes,
who also understands that there's only two sexes on the planet,
and that is necessarily so. She's what the Rainbow Mafia like to call a TERF. What was it? A trans exclusive radical feminist. That's a term that they use as a pejorative against feminists who actually, think women are a thing.
It's really funny you just said that. You know why?
Why?
The actual title of this article. So like the ballot, not the ballot, the click candy to get you to look at this is the UK's shift against trans ideology. And then the title of the article by Madeline Kearns, who has been leading the charge at National Review. She's a young woman who is brilliant, and the left hates her.
Of course.
The title of her article is Turf Island.
Nice. Yes. Because for a long time, I guess, just to probably this play on words is what she's doing. Being a TERF, as it were, it has put you on an ideological island in the grand scheme of things, because the tastemakers, all of the big names, all of these celebrities have bought into the ideology, right? Even the medical associations, the one that's getting sued, had bought into the ideology that you could. A woman is just what you believe. Belief is enough to become a woman. And they were like, wait a minute, that destroys what it actually is to be a woman. And they stake their claim right there. It used to be an island. I think it's getting a little bigger. That island nation is starting to gobble up some land around it.
Well, there you go. There's the update from the liberal lunatics across the pond. There's keep hope alive. All right, we're going to talk to a very hopeful, happy warrior next. He's going to talk to us about what we can really do to prevent the foreign ownership of our land, be it farmland or otherwise, here in the great state of Missouri. Missouri State Senator Bill Eigel joining us next on the Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show here at 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL.
Like us on Facebook at News Talk STL. Get up. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning. Columbo and Katie.
Well, Tom Emmer has dropped out of the race. So now we're going to wait around and see who the House Republicans nominate for the third time. We'll talk to Rodney Boyd about this on Wednesday at 2:25.
Weekdays at 2 on News Talk STL.
Tim Jones here to announce that Professional Irrigation Systems is now Pro Outdoor. The change reflects their commitment to the innovation of the industry, expansion of services they offer that our family has used for years. Lawn fertilization, landscape maintenance, outdoor lighting, of course, irrigation. Their commitment to their customers remains the highest priority. Same team, same awesome equipment, same quality of service you've come to know and love. To learn more about their services, including fall specials, call them 636-565-0196 or anytime 24/7 at ProOutdoor.com. That's ProOutdoor.com.
Columbo and Katie.
A CNN poll that was just released this week shows that 49% of Americans flagged Joe Biden's age as their biggest concern.
I believe that these instances are more sounding the alarm on the Democrat side to step up to the plate and run against Biden. Someone needs to run against him from our party so that we understand you exist and we understand the battle.
Tony Columbo, Katie Fitzpatrick. Weekdays at 2 on News Talk STL.
Hey, it's Tony Columbo for my friends at A Plus Plumbing and Drain, and they truly are our friends because they have done it all at our house over the years, from putting in a new faucet to installing a whole new bathroom from scratch. The team at A Plus has always done great work for a great price. A Plus Plumbing and Drain is a local family-owned business that can take care of all your plumbing needs and specializes in new construction and home renovation. Call A Plus for your next project at 636-288-7126 or through Facebook at A Plus Plumbing and Drain.
This is 101.9 and 94.1.
Female, millennial, Trump supporter. I listen to it like every day. Like, seriously, you get it.
News Talk STL.
Hi, it's Randy Tobler here. Pour a big cup of coffee and catch my show every Saturday morning from 6 to 9. Right now, it's back to Mike Ferguson in the morning here on News Talk STL.
She touched by me in painted on jeans.
This is war. It is combat. It is bloody. It is ugly, and it's going to be messy. And innocent civilians are going to be hurt going forward. I wish I could tell you something different. I wish that wasn't going to happen, but it is going to happen, and that doesn't make it right. It doesn't make it dismissible. It doesn't mean that we aren't going to still express concerns about that and do everything we can to help the Israelis do everything they can to minimize it. But that's unfortunately the nature of conflict.
Gabe, I'm not used to all these incredibly clear, cogent statements of facts and reality coming out of the Biden administration these days.
Yeah, that was kind of wild. I was taken aback by that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, there is good and evil in the world.
Yes.
And there are things that the United States of America should be doing as the leader of the free world.
Absolutely.
One of those things happens to be who should own our land? You would think that would be a simple question, but you know, some great ideas in the past suddenly become really bad ideas in the present. We're going to talk about some solutions on that subject and more with our next guest. He is Missouri State Senator Bill Eigel, candidate for governor here in the great state of Missouri. That election is coming up, folks, next August. It's right around the bend. Senator, good morning to you. Welcome back to News Talk STL.
Hey, good morning, Tim. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Indeed. All right. First of all, Bill, I don't want you don't need to comment too deeply on the DC dysfunction because I know you're focused on the state of Missouri. But, Bill, you can be dysfunctional even when you do have a Speaker of the House, a Senate President pro tem, and a Republican governor, right, Bill? Because even though they don't have a Speaker in the U.S. House, we have all of those things here in Missouri. And yet we haven't done much here in the state either. We've kind of been leaderless with our leaders, haven't we?
No, you're absolutely right, Tim. And the reason is because, unfortunately, there's too many leaders in the Republican Party in Missouri right now that continue to call on Republicans to do non-Republican things. So whether it's raising our taxes through the gas tax, whether it's raising all the out-of-control spending down in Jefferson City, whether it's being unwilling to confront the liberal extremism happening in our two urban areas, or pushing back on the crime that's trying to spread out from those urban areas as a result. We have weak leadership, unfortunately, in the state of Missouri, and it pains me to say that because I'm a Republican. I supported guys like Mike Parson in their reelection, but the results speak for themselves. Our cities have never been in more chaos. Our state is stagnating economically, and we're falling behind these other big red states all around the country that are doing the things that we just talk about in campaign season. That's why I'm running for governor. I want to shake up the status quo down there in Jefferson City. It's time to kick over some apple carts, and all the people that are benefiting and profiting from the record amount of taxpayer spending that's going on, that's coming to an end in 2024. So, you mentioned the issue of land. This is a kind of a fundamental issue in the state of Missouri. Who should own Missouri farmland, right? My answer to the question is very simple. It should be owned by Missourians or at least Americans. And I'm actually the only guy in this gubernatorial race that is out there saying that the number of acres that we should be selling to any foreign country or any foreign entity is zero. It's pretty simple. So today I'm announcing for the first time on your show, Tim, or Mike's show, I guess, that I am unveiling what I will file in January of this year, which will be a constitutional amendment that does two things if approved by the voters. One, it will ban the sale of any of our farmland in the state of Missouri to any foreign countries. I mean, everybody knows that, we shouldn't sell it to China, but the reality is we shouldn't sell it to any foreign entities. We shouldn't sell it to the World Economic Forum. We shouldn't sell it to folks who may be our friends today but are not our friends tomorrow, because America should control its own food supply. And the second thing it will do is something that a lot of people have been talking about is, what about the land that's already been purchased from China? What about the land that's already been purchased by a foreign entity? Well, if approved by the voters, this constitutional amendment will require divestiture of any foreign ownership of ground in the state of Missouri, or Missouri's going to take it back. How does that sound?
That's
We're
an
gonna start
exclusive.
protecting the land in this state.
Yeah. Thank you, Senator.
Absolutely. Good morning, Bill. Gabe Pfeiffer here. So it sounds like that's going to be a major priority coming up in the 2024 session here. But what other things are on your radar that really, really need to happen?
Cutting taxes. I mean, cutting taxes, and I say that as a blanket statement because I haven't met a tax that I wasn't willing to cut. And if you had to give me just one tax that I'm going to cut, or maybe the tax that I'm going to cut first, it's going to be personal property tax. I mean, this is something that we've been talking about for years. The tax burden in this state that's borne by Missouri citizens is greater than at any time in the history of our state. And the result of that is that businesses and opportunity are going to other states. So cutting taxes is going to be a big one. What about election integrity reform? I've got a bill that would get rid of all these machines that are making our elections vulnerable and allowing the swamp to steal our elections. And going back to 2020, we're going to get rid of those machines and go back to the hand counting of ballots that worked for us for more than a century. What about protecting our Second Amendment rights? I had a bill last year that was going to get rid of these red flag laws in the state of Missouri, but it was Republicans that opposed getting rid of red flag laws and banning them in the state of Missouri. But we have more that we could do on the Second Amendment. So there's a lot of things that we talk about in campaign season that never seem to really get done. And the reason is not that we're not sending enough Republicans down there to Jefferson City. We're just not sending ones that are serious about doing conservative policy.
And Senator, you made a really great point here that I think circles back to the proposal that you just unveiled here on News Talk STL as to preventing foreign landowners from owning farmland and forcing them to divest, is that all of the items you mentioned, including the Divestiture Act, these are not crazy cockamamie ideas, right, Senator? Most of these ideas that you just mentioned are found in the Missouri Republican Party platform, mirrored by the national platform. And this divestiture plan is as well. I see in one of the news reports about your unveiling of this plan today that Arkansas and South Dakota have already moved forward on a similar plan. So we're not going to be the first, but we can definitely be at the forefront. And again, whether it's that, cutting taxes, education reform, working for workers' rights, all of these issues are things that you've championed for years, and many of your colleagues have, but our leaders have stopped or not been interested in. That's a problem, isn't it?
It's a big problem. And my message to the people of the state are that, you know what, it's time to start believing in the future of Missouri again. Let's start believing that all these big red things are finally going to get done, because we're finally going to have somebody in the governor's office that will do that most difficult thing for politicians these days, which is to do what they say they're going to do. I mean, I don't know that there's a Republican that hasn't talked about cutting taxes in campaign season. I don't know if that person exists. They haven't done that. But I'll tell you what, once they get down to Jefferson City, they sure love to spend money. And a lot of them were voting to raise your taxes when I was there last session. So it's very frustrating. And the trust level has been devastated between constituents and citizens and their elected representatives because of all these weak politicians. Well, I'm telling you, that day's done. I've raised a family. I've got 2 kids in this state. I've run a business in this state. I am tired of Missouri falling behind for no other reason than the fact that our politicians in Jefferson City have become so enamored of the swamp and the status quo down there that we can't do anything big in this state anymore. Those days are over. We're going to do a lot of big things. I believe in the future of Missouri, and I'm calling out to every one of the Republicans around the state to give it a chance to fight for what we know is going to make the state prosper. Let's go, Missouri.
Mm-hmm. Speaking to U.S., I just upgraded you, or maybe that's a demotion. Maybe that's a demotion these days.
Gray hair when you said that.
That's right. That's right. That's right. State Senator Bill Eigel. He's at Bill Eigel on Twitter. You can also go to BillEigel.com because he's a candidate for governor. You can read about all of his proposals there. Senator, there's been a weird phenomenon happening in Missouri over the last few election cycles, whereas the legislature has continued to at least try to move forward on all of the issues you've mentioned, and a supermajority has been granted by the voters to proceed on issues like tax cuts and the pro-life message and the Second Amendment concerns and cutting regulations. The left in our state has basically given up on the legislature, but they've gone to the ballot box and they've couched all this comfy, cozy language around things that are actually nefarious at their core in these 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10-page ballot initiatives that people, I'm sorry, do not take the time to read. They look at the summary, they look at the title, and if it says pink fluffy unicorns on, they vote yes. Senator, how important is it to finally get some version of initiative petition reform passed next year so we stop getting legislated against by the hard left at the ballot box?
Incredibly important. In fact, I'm going to make a prediction right here, Tim, that I think that's actually going to be one of the first things the legislature passes, or at least the Senate passes. I can't speak about the House. The House has a lot going on, especially this week. But I can tell you the Senate, I think that's going to be one of the first issues that we take up. You're absolutely correct. Once again, you have very powerful out-of-state special interests that are coming into Missouri that are lying to the people of the state. And after our Secretary of State chooses not to reject unconstitutional ballot measures from the ballot before they get to the people, they're getting into our Constitution. So we're going to take action to protect the Constitution. And I think that means increasing the standard by which something goes into the Constitution, not blocking access to the ballot. It's going to take the same number of signatures to get a question in front of the voters. But we have one of the lowest standards, one of the lowest possible standards that you could have in the entire country to change the founding document of the state. That's making us vulnerable to these very aggressive, very left-leaning, out-of-state organizations that want to hurt our state. So we're going to take action. We need to take action. Should have happened last year, but our leadership over in the Senate and the House were a total disaster, and they couldn't make it work in spite of having the biggest supermajorities that we've almost ever have had in the state of Missouri, but certainly enough to get big things like that done.
Senator, I want to talk, we have time for one more topic. I want to ask you about one of your favorite topics, and that's reforming, cutting, and eliminating the dreaded personal property tax here in the state of Missouri. Senator, it's my understanding the majority of the states do not have this tax. Not even Illinois taxes your personal property. I bring this up, Senator, because people are about to get that dreaded bill in the mail just in time for Christmas every year. Senator, how ridiculous is it that we have a personal property tax? Can we begin to, step it down and eliminate it, and explain how the sky will not fall if we do so?
So we don't even, in fact, Tim, we don't even have to step it down. We could get rid of it next year. And here's why I say that. The value of every personal property tax bill for every citizen and every business all across Missouri is about $1.7 billion. Well, just the growth in our state revenues last year, just the growth was $2 billion. Which means we could have eliminated every personal property tax bill that every one of us paid last December 1st and still had $300 million left over to spend
on
new spending priorities. But that's not what Mike Parson did. That's not what the supermajority of Republicans, aided by their Democrat allies, did down in Jefferson City. What did they do? They spent $10 billion in new decision items and new spending in a $51 billion budget. $51 billion is up from $20 billion that we were spending back in 2010. So you're absolutely right. The sky's not going to fall if we get rid of personal property tax. And if we do, we're just going to join the other 29 states that have already gotten rid of personal property tax. This is, with December 1st peeking at us right around the corner, I need everyone to know that when they go and they write that check to government, on December 1st for renting their car, I want them to know it doesn't have to be this way. We could get rid of every one of those tax bills for every citizen in the state if we would just get the right person leading this state. And when I'm the governor of this state, the days of personal property tax are over. I am the only candidate that is making the commitment that personal property tax will be gone in my first year as being the governor of this state. So if you're tired of renting your car from the government every December 1st, check out BillEichel.com because I need your help.
And the people would say amen to that.
Yeah.
It's like the worst tax ever on the planet.
I hate it so much.
Missouri State Senator Bill Eigel, who's got big, bold ideas for challenging times. He's running for governor. Check him out at BillEichel.com, at Bill Eigel on Twitter. Senator, thanks so much. Godspeed you and good luck with all of your efforts.
Thanks, guys. We'll talk soon.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Bill.
Indeed. Wow. Well, that would be a breath of fresh air to actually be doing things like that in the state of Missouri while instead of just watching all of our neighboring states do those things.
Yeah.
7:32 here on Mike Ferguson in the morning. Tim Jones in the big chair today, of course, with Gabe Pfeiffer and producer Stell. Want to give us a holler about anything we've talked about or more or beyond? 314-912-1019 is how you can do that. 314-912-1019. Back right after this, 1019, 94.1 News Talk, STL.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Clouds in control today and a spot shower or two kicking around mainly this morning. The afternoon trends dry, but the clouds are going to stick for much of the day. It's still mild for this time of year, a high of 79 this afternoon and breezy too. Winds out of the south, maybe a few gusts up to about 25 miles per hour. Some dry time tonight, partly cloudy down to 64, but right back into the rain chances Thursday afternoon, about a 40% chance. And this unsettled pattern continues right through the weekend. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
Car and Driver Magazine says the 2024 Toyota Land Cruiser is cool and affordable. 2024 Toyotas are showing up every day, ready for immediate delivery at Ackerman. In fact, Toyota has awarded Ackerman more vehicles than all competitors. Check it out yourself at Ackerman Toyota, Hampton and Interstate 44, or online, AckermanToyota.com. Ackerman Toyota will get you the best deal. Ackerman Toyota, for life.
This is Larry Connor's commentary on News Talk STL.
No one in their right mind wants Iran to have a nuclear weapon. But here's a sobering thought. We have 13,000 nukes in the world that we know of, held by a dozen countries. The U.S., Russia, China, France, United Kingdom, Israel. No Arab nations. But the Saudi prince said in a Fox News interview, if Iran gets one, we need to get one. Now, that's scary. There are two nations I did not list, Pakistan and India. And the current director of the Nuclear Information Project said, when it comes down to nuclear weapon states that could end up in a nuclear clash against each other, India and Pakistan have for years been considered the most likely. And in 2013, Pakistan adopted the concept of full spectrum deterrence. In other words, they retain the policy of first strike using a nuclear arm missile. Mike Pompeo, former Secretary of State, in his memoirs points out that at one time, India and Pakistan came very close. But thank God they all cooled their heads and nothing was fired. The Mideast is a big issue, so's Pakistan and India.
Get more Larry Connors on Larry Connors USA.
Tonight at 6 on News Talk STL.
This is Christina Straight with Straight Realty reminding you why pay more than $4. In 2003, we had a dream to start a real estate company that would revolutionize the real estate market. Now, 20 years later, after navigating through the many markets' ups and downs, we know exactly how to help you in this challenging time. I'm Christina Straight, owner of Straight Realty. Don't give away your hard-earned equity. Give us a call today, 314-441-4444, 314-441-all-4s. And remember, why pay more than $4?
Straight Realty is a licensed broker in the state of Missouri.
As winter approaches and we keep our energy-efficient homes closed, we are exposed to many different chemicals, molds, dust, virus, and bacteria floating throughout the air. Hi, I'm Everett Jones, owner of Jones Air and Water. Since 1995, Jones Air and Water has helped many breathe better and reduce allergens in their home and business. Call Jones Air and Water at 636-899-1040 or visit joneswater.com for more info. You can be a filter or buy a filter. Jones Air and Water on the web at joneswater.com.
Facts don't matter. Lies don't matter. You or I lie, we go to jail.
She lies.
Mark McCloskey on fire.
It's just part of the business. President lies. It's part of his business. Joe Biden couldn't tell the truth if he could remember it. And then you got Hunter Biden, because he's a drug addict, because he's a gun criminal, because, posts pictures of himself with hookers and crack pipes and all that kind of stuff. That makes him somehow wonderful.
Mark McCloskey on fire. Sundays at 5 on News Talk STL. Welcome home to St. Louis's new choice for conservative talk.
We need proper representation.
You don't get the policies without the man.
Age is an issue, but there are a lot of broader issues. 101.9 and 94.1. That's it. News Talk STL.
Bill O'Reilly here. Check out the O'Reilly Update this afternoon at 3:45. Right now, it's back to Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Seems like everybody's waiting for a new change to come around.
If you want to challenge the result of an election, they hound you. Look what happened this weekend with two good people. They hound them and they scare them but we don't get scared. We don't get scared. I'll tell you what, I don't mind being Nelson Mandela because I'm doing it for a reason. I'm doing it for a reason.
He doesn't mind being Nelson Mandela. Boy, does he know how to make the liberal lunatics light their hair on fire. He just continues to press their buttons. Welcome back to Mike Ferguson in the morning. Tim Jones here today. I'll be back at 4 p.m. with my intrepid co-host Chris Arps. We got a great show this afternoon for you at 4 p.m. Kicking off at 4 p.m. We're going to be speaking to a lieutenant colonel, retired lieutenant colonel, about the war in Israel. We're going to be talking to a woman who was a terrorist survivor, and we've got lots of other great stuff ahead. In between here and there, the Vic Porcelli Show, of course, will be treating you throughout the mid-morning hours. I'll be back on that program. Wednesday's my hit day.
Oh man, yeah, that's
Vic,
right.
So I'm doing 3 shows Tim today.
Man.
So outdoing 2-show Schroer. So I'll just put that out. Bring it, Nikki. Nick's a good friend. We will I'll be on Vic's show 10:05, and so you got the Vic Porcelli Show. You got the one and only Dan Bongino. Man, I love listening to Bongino. We are the exclusive carriers of Bongino here
in this
region of eastern Missouri, southern Illinois. So make sure you listen to that every single day for your daily dose. And then, of course, that's followed by Columbo and Katie, Jones and Arps, Larry Connors, and then we let's see. Then after Larry Connors, we head to Joe Pags. Wrap it all up with a big fat bow with Ben Shapiro.
Yeah,
so great lineup, best lineup in the land.
Hey, if you make an appearance on Columbo and Katie, you'll hit for the cycle, and that would tie me for having the most appearances in one day on News Talk STL.
See, there must be something in your contract because I've never been invited on that show.
Oh, no.
Yeah. No, that's not true. I think I've made a random appearance here. Or there, but yeah. So,
well, it's usually in the middle of your day, which at the time for a long time was quite full.
I was taking a nap. Yeah.
Yeah.
So still quite the busy bee. So speaking of President Trump and presidential candidates, we have a big announcement coming up at 8:05 with Camelia Peterson, one of our very good friends at Americans for Prosperity, Missouri. So you're going to want to not go anywhere and tell all your friends and family to tune in. At 8:05, we'll be making a very big announcement about a very big event that's coming up in the next few weeks. And you will be able to participate. You'll be able to join us, all yous out there. So make sure you go nowhere and tell everybody else to tune in, set their radio dials at 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL. Listen to us on the app, which you can download for either iPhone or Android. You can listen to us online at work or at home at newstalkstl.com. You can tell your smart speakers to play us as well. There is no excuse for you not to be able to listen to News Talk STL. You can carry us with you around the planet. And if you can't remember something like, you're like, what did they say about this event? Or what did they say about the app? Or what did they say about the podcast? One-stop shop. We've made it really simple because you have busy lives and lots going on. newstalkstl.com. newstalkstl.com. And there's even funnies on there now.
Yeah, that's right.
It's my favorite part of the paper that I used to read. So courtesy of Todd Showalter.
Get Todd.
So So one thing, speaking of the reason I played the whole President Trump pushing back against the lawsuits is this is something I predicted months ago because only this wasn't a big prediction at all.
Right.
I'm a lawyer. I know what lawyers do.
Yeah.
One of the things I said that Donald Trump was going to do in several of these cases, eventually, he
Mhm.
was going to file significant motions to dismiss some of
Mhm.
these cases.
Right.
And they wouldn't just be boilerplate stuff. A lot of times in the law, so we don't get sued for malpractice, you do certain things pursuant to policy and procedure, and there's a lot of boilerplate stuff. So in a lot of cases, whether they're civil or criminal, all the lawyers on both sides are filing various motions, okay?
Mhm. Right.
And you always will file, generally, a motion to dismiss
Yeah.
a claim when it's brought against you. I expected President Donald Trump's team, with some of the best lawyers in the land, to file these motions, and I expected them to be
Not just boilerplate.
right, to be significant, to be
Mhm.
substantive.
Right.
And that doesn't mean that they're going to be granted by the trial court judge. I expect the trial court judge, especially in D.C. and Fulton County,
Yeah, who these people are.
to give these short shrift
Oh, sure.
and be like, no, denied.
Mhm.
That will then create an appealable matter,
Mhm.
and it will go up possibly to the Court of Appeals in those jurisdictions, and
Mhm.
eventually maybe the Supreme Court. So number one, Gabe, as I predicted, the president is going to tie up all of these cases
Mhm.
in legal motion practice for months.
Absolutely.
And none of these, I'm predicting right now, none of the cases against Donald Trump will go to trial prior to November. Of
Oh,
next year.
absolutely not.
Look at where we are already.
Yeah.
We're already at the end. It's almost November.
Mhm.
None of these cases is anywhere near a trial, a trial date.
Mhm.
I know some dates have been set.
Oh, yeah.
That
but-
means nothing.
Right, because when you file the motions, it pushes all those dates over, right?
It can.
It can.
It can.
Mhm.
And so, look, it's November. Thanksgiving is in barely 3.5 weeks.
Man.
Christmas is right after.
Mhm.
Sorry to age you.
Yeah.
Right here before your very eyes.
Oh.
My point, Gabe, is there's not going to be any trials against a former president of the United States before the end of this year.
No, not
so
at all.
I think I'm safe in saying the very earliest you're going to see something is the spring.
Mhm.
Well, then all the president has to do with his very intrepid lawyers is do some legal machinations, which will
Mhm.
be completely justified,
Sure.
like motion practice, to then bounce these a little further along. Then you're into the summer and the summer holidays,
Mhm.
and then you're in the primary season, and then it's election time.
Right.
It's not going to be that hard when you're adjourning things, when you're continuing things in legal world. Gabe, you don't go Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. You go 30 days to 30 days to 30 days.
Right, right.
You don't have to do a lot of 30-day continuances
Mhm.
to have 8 or 9 of them, and then
Mhm.
suddenly you're past November of 2024.
There you go. Yep.
So what are these motions to dismiss? I'll get into a couple now, and then we'll get into more when we come back. This is on the January 6th indictment in Washington, D.C., the
Okay.
one that's brought by Jack Smith.
Right.
Which, Gabe, remember, Jack Smith did not charge Donald Trump for anything regarding insurrection or
Mhm.
incitement to violence.
Okay, so what are the actual charges? I keep hearing notions and penumbras about the whole thing, but nothing concrete. What's going on with
So
this?
the motion to dismiss, number one, based on constitutional grounds. First and foremost, the indictment in Washington, D.C., brought by Jack Smith, must be dismissed because it seeks to criminalize, here's an argument we've all made,
Mhm.
core political speech and advocacy that lies at the heart of the First Amendment.
Okay.
What Jack Smith is charging in that case, Gabe,
Yeah.
is nothing that Donald Trump actually did on January 6th. He's saying that all the stuff that Donald Trump did before January 6th caused January 6th.
So all the stuff being, hey, I don't like what I'm seeing here out of these elections.
Yeah, I don't believe that the elections were fair.
Right.
Wait a minute. You're going to take away politicians' rights to say that?
Right.
Democrats have made that a professional sport.
Yeah.
Right,
yeah.
Stell, especially in places like Chicago,
Oh, most definitely.
where,
Yes.
where no election is believed by either side. And that's just on the Democrats.
I'm pretty sure every Republican president who has been elected since George W. Bush has been called illegitimate
Mhm.
by the Democrats.
By the
Every
Democrats.
single one.
Yes.
Yeah.
They have filed oppositions to electors. They've done all they already did
Mhm.
all the things that Republicans then copycatted off. Basically, the Republicans' argument about 2020 was honestly nothing more than a cut and paste copycat job as to all the arguments the Democrats have made about Republican presidents before that.
Well, standing operating procedure for leftists though is it's bad when they do it. That's standard.
So here's the language. Here's some of the legal language. The indictment, the January 6th indictment, attempts to criminalize core political speech and political advocacy, which is categorically impermissible under the First Amendment. And if that's not enough for you, here's a case. As the Supreme Court held in Texas v. Johnson, quote, if there is a bedrock principle underlying the First Amendment, it is that the government may not prohibit the expression of an idea simply because society finds the idea itself offensive or disagreeable.
Huh.
Isn't that a core bedrock principle of our First Amendment?
That's quite the core bedrock principle. Yep. You're not allowed to do that.
How about this one? Consider, so this is a further argument under this motion, consider any number of disfavored claims on a host of controversial topics, all deemed to be demonstrably false and disinformation by the government at various times, such as claiming that, number one, masks do not stop the transmission of COVID-19, that vaccines do not stop the transmission of COVID-19, that COVID-19 originated from a lab in Wuhan, China, and that the 2020 presidential election was stolen. Can the government prosecute a citizen for attempting to, quote, defraud the United States? That was the claim that's the claim Jack Smith's making.
Defraud.
He's saying that Donald Trump has defrauded the
my
people of the country. So can you defraud the United States by making supposedly false statements to government officials for, number one, opposing mask mandates, number two, opposing vaccine mandates, number three, urging the investigation of China by telling government officials COVID-19 leaked from a lab? Under the First Amendment, the answer to all of those questions is no, and that also absolutely applies to claims the 2020 presidential election was stolen.
Well, the thing is, if you could prosecute a government official for trying to defraud the American people by lying about something, wouldn't we be able to sue various administrations for what they did by lying to us about the COVID-19 vaccine and and masks?
We should be able to sue them for defrauding the American people.
The science is clear, and not just that, we found evidence that they knew it was clear,
Mm-hmm.
and they still told us otherwise.
Dr. Fauci is the science.
Yes. Look, I represent science.
You do that so well. There's 4 other motions that the president has filed. I'll give you the titles of those and more when we come back and prepare you for that big announcement at 8:05 with Camelia Peterson of Americans for Prosperity. Next on the Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show, 1019 94.1 News Talk STL.
For podcast articles and more, find us on newstalkstl.com. Get up. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Singing round for everyone. You can understand everything to share. Let your spirit dance, brothers, everywhere. Let your head free, turn the wisdom key. Find it naturally, see you're lucky to be. This sound has been around and round and round.
The Herzog Foundation is the vision of its founder, Stanley Herzog, and it exists to promote and accelerate the development of quality Christ-centered K-12 education.
Hi, this is Daryl Jones, president of the Herzog Foundation. We have an exciting new training opportunity available for public school and Christian school teachers. The Herzog Foundation Institute has partnered with the Bill of Rights Institute to offer 4 training events in 4 Missouri cities this year. These day-long professional development opportunities are best suited for middle and high school civics, government, U.S. history, and social studies teachers. Middle and high school teachers have a unique opportunity to strengthen civic knowledge and values for the next generation. We want to help teachers seize this opportunity.
Visit herzogfoundation.com/events to learn more and register for a Bill of Rights Institute training event near you. herzogfoundation.com/events. herzogfoundation.com/events.
Hey guys, Columbo here, reminding you that if you belong to an organization like a school or a church, or your kids are part of a group or a sports team that needs to raise money, there's no better way to do so than with a TJ's Pizza fundraiser. TJ's Pizza has been helping local organizations raise money for over 30 years to the tune of tens of millions of dollars. A local company helping local people, and there's lots of different ways TJ's can help you raise big money fast. Get started now at tjspizza.com.
This Saturday night at 10 on Stories of New Americans. I'm joined today by Anwuli Okwashi from Nigeria.
I didn't want to get my master's in a Nigerian university. Okay. The standard for me wasn't something I felt was worth it. If I'm going to actually improve my skills, if I'm going to improve my marketability, the US was my top destination.
Stories of New Americans, Saturday nights at 10 on News Talk STL.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning brought to you by Window World. Simply the best for less. 314-993-1800 or visit windowworld.com.
Hey, this is Todd Showalter. Join me for the Right Mind Show on Saturday at 5 as I try to put some fun back into this wacky radio station. You know, and speaking of wacky, let's get back to Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Now let's talk about the terror watch list because we're also keeping track of that. Let's start in 2019.
Okay, so this, Brian, is what a policy looks like. This is what a policy looks like. Fiscal year 2019. And then you can draw a bright line with things changing in that policy and how it grew. Terror watch list.
New president.
Attempts to cross the border, and it is exploding. This is exponential growth of people, and they may have been wanted to get arrested or not. We don't know. These are people that were encountered and arrested who were on the watch list.
The Homeland Security Secretary was asked, once they came across and you got them, what happened to them? I don't know, was his answer, Mayorkas.
So, for all of you listening at home, unable to see the graph, I'll just fill you in on what you were probably suspecting. In 2019, when who was president still?
That would have been Senor Trump.
President Donald J. Trump. El Trumpo, right?
El Trumpo.
El Trumpo, as the great Rush Limbaugh would say. In 2019, guess what, Gabe?
What?
Zero. Goose egg. Zero people on the terror watch list were apprehended trying to get across the southern border. Fast forward a mere 4 years, 169 individuals on the terror watch list have attempted to cross the southern border. And so the left would say, oh, great, we're arresting all these terrorists. How many have gotten in the 1.5 million gotaways that have gotten across the border and not been arrested?
Yeah, the situation is absolutely dire. It's been that way for a long time. And the left side of the aisle doesn't seem to really care about it. And I mean, as much as they'll pay lip service to the humanitarian crisis or things of that nature, they're never going to admit that maybe they should have done something differently. Maybe like that El Trumpo did.
That's right. That's right. So to rehash, in 2019, we had 0 individuals on the terror watch list apprehended at the southern border.
Yep.
Now, do we know if any snuck in? We don't know.
No.
But if 0 were apprehended, that number was likely extremely low.
Well, and given the overall number of illegal crossings in that year were significantly lower rates than they are today anyway. So yes, your chances of that happening of a gotaway terrorist are much lower in those years. And I think the years surrounding that year where we had a goose egg on it, they're still in the single digits. I think one of the other years, I think 2020 was like 3 or something like that, and 9 maybe in 2018. You know, so we were relatively secure during those years.
Yes, and the leftist argument is always, well, look at all these people that the Biden administration is arresting. They forget to always mention that there are, as I just said, over 1 million gotaways that are not being apprehended at the border. And Gabe, I'm going to go way out on a limb and suggest that some of the people on the terror watch list are probably in that over 1 million
yes,
person number.
Yes, exactly. Yes. Again, do you think this is stupidity or incompetence?
Man. Or intentional.
Intentional. I guess that's a good point. I've been saying this for a little while now that it's tough for me not to entertain the idea that this is intentional at this point, because there's only so much there's only so much stupidity. There's only so much incompetence that can explain away the bad things that are being brought by the policies of this government to explain what's going on. At some point, you have to say, are they trying to do this?
Expand upon your point, Gabe. You don't have to be a conspiracy theorist to believe this at this point, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, because you just look at the numbers. If you are doing any sort of job, it's your job to, let's say, to secure the border.
So it's my job.
It's your job. Okay, now
I'm ready.
Everything has been
got my
getting
horse,
worse.
Got my whip.
So, okay. Yeah, exactly. Right. So, okay. So you get into the job, the numbers are at a certain level.
Okay.
You have to implement a new policy from the boss man.
Okay.
That policy has led all of those numbers that are bad to go up continuously. So at some point exponentially on all fronts.
Yes.
Do you say, hey, boss, this is a bad policy. Let's do something else. Or do you say, no. The border is secure.
Let's do more of this.
Let's do more of this.
Yes.
The border is secure. This
Yes.
is working.
And for Mayorkas to then act like there's nothing to see here.
Yeah.
It just defies the basic realities that we are watching on our televisions, courtesy of the drone footage that we're getting from networks like Newsmax and Fox News.
Yeah. I mean,
it's right there.
Like I said, there's only so much stupidity that could explain this because, at some point you get to the point where if they are actually that stupid that they could look at the situation and honestly say that everything is fine, you wonder how their brain is processing the notion to breathe every few seconds. So I don't believe that it's conspiratorial to think that some of this is deliberate, at least some of it.
And then you can ask the rhetorical question: if you were going to intentionally harm a nation, either its border security, its economy, its education, its workforce, what would you do different? Crime. What would you do differently?
No, yeah. If I was going to destroy the American empire, for lack of a better term, from the inside out, I would do everything that this administration has been doing.
And we didn't
every single thing.
And we didn't even touch on the cornerstone that they started with, affect its energy independence.
Oh yes, that was the very first domino to fall that this administration proudly knocked over when it got into office.
And a lot of that led to everything else.
It sure did.
Right?
Yep.
Because when you're unable to produce your own energy, you have to buy it from somebody else. And guess what? That as you know, as we all know, Gabe, as supply restricts, demand rises, and with that, prices
go up too.
Look at the price of the pump versus what it was a mere 2 to 3 years ago.
Yeah,
it's gone up about 40 to 50%.
Yeah, and those energy prices go everywhere. I would also spin us into oblivion because that would raise prices also because of inflation.
Exactly. Yep.
Hyperinflation kills nations.
Wiser word never spoken. All right, 7:58 in the AM. When we come back, Camelia Peterson of Americans for Prosperity talking about a great joint announcement event we got coming up here at 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL.
El Rushbo would say yes. Yes. Yes.
As you know, my friend Mike Lindell has a passion to help everyone get the best sleep of your life. He didn't stop by simply creating the best pillow. Now Mike has done it again with his My Slippers, and the folks at My Pillow are having an early Christmas slipper sale. The original My Slippers regular price is $139.98, but for a very limited time, they're offering these slippers for just $39.98. They come in a variety of sizes and colors. Use a promo code ONFIRE at mypillow.com or call 1-800-645-1392. The My Slippers are designed to be worn indoor and out. They are made with My Pillow foam and impact gel to help prevent fatigue. Plus, they feature quality suede leather. Unlock this special offer and other savings by using the promo code ONFIRE at mypillow.com. Once again, that number is 800-645-1392, 800-645-1392, or you can go to mypillow.com, use a promo code ONFIRE, and get your special discount today.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNVS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 101.9, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomason. Republicans may be a step closer to electing a new Speaker of the House, nominating fellow GOP Congressman Mike Johnson for the post.
I'm honored to have the support of my colleagues.
Johnson of Louisiana is a member of the House GOP leadership team, but lower ranking. Johnson's the fourth nominee for Speaker and second of the day, Tuesday.
Democracy is messy sometimes, but it is our system. This conference that you see, this House Republican majority is united.
But the cycle of Republican infighting has frustrated many.
We're going to restore your trust in what we do here. You're going to see a new form of government, and we are going to move this quickly.
Ben Thomas, Washington.
Former White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows has, according to ABC News, been granted immunity to testify under oath in Donald Trump's federal election interference case.
According to unnamed sources cited by ABC, Meadows informed special counsel Jack Smith's team that he repeatedly told Trump following the election that allegations of significant voting fraud were baseless. Meadows, who reportedly spoke with prosecutors at least 3 times and appeared once before a federal grand jury, could be a significant witness for the government at Trump's trial next year.
White House correspondent Greg Clugston. Mexico's southern Pacific coast being pummeled with torrential rains and fierce winds.
Hurricane Otis rapidly strengthened on its approach to southern Mexico on Tuesday evening, and it made landfall about 1:25 a.m. as a Category 5 hurricane very near Acapulco, Mexico.
The National Hurricane Center's Daniel Brown. Israel once again vowing to destroy Hamas and reporting some success toward that end in its series of ongoing airstrikes in the Gaza. On Wall Street, ahead of this morning's opening bell, the Dow futures 66 points higher. More on these stories at townhall.com.
The following is not an actor, but a real-life story from Trinity Debt Management.
I'm Corey, and this is my story. I was going through some financial troubles paying off my credit cards. I was paying high interest rates, and it just wasn't getting any better. And I knew I had to do something. So my mom told me about Trinity, and so I decided to call. Trinity was able to do something that I couldn't. I'm paying off my debt. I'm saving thousands, and things are really looking up. I promise you guys, you will not regret it when you call Trinity, because it was such a relief and less stress in my life, and it was the best thing I could have done for myself, because once I called Trinity, they took care of me and I felt such a relief, a weight off my shoulders. Trinity was great to work with. They wanted to help me. I love it.
If you're in debt and you need help, call Trinity at 1-800-990-6976.
I'm Corey, and I'm debt-free for keeps.
1-800-990-6976.
From the Michael's Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Clouds in control today and a spot shower or two kicking around mainly this morning. The afternoon trends dry, but the clouds are going to stick for much of the day. It's still mild for this time of year, a high of 79 this afternoon, and breezy too. Winds out of the south, maybe a few gusts up to about 25 miles per hour. Some dry time tonight, partly cloudy down to 64, but right back into the rain chances Thursday afternoon, about a 40% chance. And this unsettled pattern continues right through the weekend. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by Chris Cooper and Serenity Wealth Management. Discover little-known strategies that could be the difference between choosing the care you deserve or having someone else decide it for you. Get a free copy of Chris's book at serenityltc.com.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. Ouch! Well, by wearing a small remote device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers. If you administer insulin 3 or more times per day or use an insulin pump, call now and learn how a CGM can help you.
Painless. No more pricking my finger.
No finger pricks.
Convenience. They delivered it free and they took care of all the paperwork.
You can reduce pain right away. Plus, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you spend more time in range. And if you have insurance, you can get a new CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. Call now and get free shipping of your new CGM. Plus, we'll bill your insurance for you. 800-432-8150. 800-432-8150. 800-432-8150. That's 800-432-8150.
Mike Ferguson.
We the people.
Gabe Pfeiffer.
It's not rocket science. Rocket science.
Get up! Can't you hear the alarm? Get up!
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Threshold is very tough. It's a very tough thing, no matter who it is. I said there's only one person that can do it all the way. You know who that is? Jesus Christ. If Jesus came down and said, I want to be speaker, he would do it. Other than that, I haven't seen anybody that can guarantee it. But at some point, I think we're gonna have somebody pretty soon.
Well, and that might be in the persona of a congressman from Louisiana. We may be due for the rapture here pretty soon. Okay, because I would have agreed with the president before last night, and suddenly out of nowhere, Congressman Mike Johnson, who is a congressman from Louisiana that probably most of you all have never heard of before, including yours truly. I mean, I think I've heard the name,
sure,
because he was the chair of the Republican study committee, and he's known as a very stalwart conservative, but he's a mild-mannered guy. Maybe that's what the House needs. Maybe that's what the House needs, a mild-mannered guy who's a conservative. You know, that's not me. I'm not mild-mannered, but I'm more Jim Jordan-esque. So they would have rejected me a long time ago. But I fooled him enough in the Missouri legislature. But, Mike Johnson may be a guy where the moderates go, oh, man, we're not sure we should like this guy, but we can't say anything bad about him.
Yeah.
So let's roll with it.
I mean, I guess he's okay. Whatever. I mean,
We'll see.
He's got a mortgage like the rest of us.
He does. He's got a mortgage. Oh, my God. He's a normal person. I just saw that the next vote on that, the actual vote, is scheduled for 11 a.m. Central, noon Eastern, just in time for the Vic Porcelli show to be over.
That's right. Every single time.
Every single time. Good morning, folks. I am Tim Jones. If you're wondering what the heck the voice is doing here in the morning instead of the afternoon, I'm doing double duty today. Mike Ferguson is in the southern lands of liberty and freedom down in Florida, playing a little old man's baseball, as he said. Do we have an update, Stel, on how he's doing in the Old Man World Series?
Unfortunately, they picked up a couple of losses yesterday.
Yep. They had their double header yesterday.
That's right.
So that was going to be a rough one.
It was Clearwater and Dayton lost to both of those.
Hopefully,
teams.
get him back on track soon. All right.
I think they got one more in that round, right?
I think you're right. And then they shuffle the teams and kind of reset it and continue with
get thrown into their brackets. And
there you go.
Exactly.
All right. Well, come on, Mike. Bring home some winners. That's producer Stel. That is Gabe Pfeiffer, a.k.a. St. John the Philosopher. He's at John Philosopher on Twitter. And the YouTube. You got YouTube and Rumble still up and running?
Yep, still running.
All right.
They haven't kicked me off yet.
All right. Very good. Not yet. Don't say ivermectin.
Or hydroxychloroquine.
Or election 2020.
Yeah.
So that's Gabe Pfeiffer. I'm Tim Jones. And we have a brand new guest in the studio here, although she's been on News Talk STL many times before. Camellia Peterson of Americans for Prosperity in Missouri. Camellia, good morning to you. Welcome back.
Good morning. Thank you. It's always fun to be here.
Great to have you here. You are one of my favorite Twitter prognosticators. You have as much fun on Twitter as I do. And you can be found at Rare Camellia. Now, is that a play on the flower?
Yes. My dad named me. My mother is Rosa, and he felt like we need another flower in the family, so I am Camellia.
How cool.
That's awesome.
How cool is that? All right, Camellia, I don't want to bury the lead. We'll get into like what Americans for Prosperity does in the state and the issues and all that. But you are here to announce a really cool event that's coming up that you are all doing in partnership with us here at News Talk STL. Tell the folks what we got coming up.
Yes. So I know you're all very excited about the third presidential primary debate coming up on November 8th. And, it's kind of this concept of it's, shared joy is doubled or, half, shared sorrow is halved. And depending on which way you want to look at it, we think we'll all have more fun if we do these debates together.
Yes.
And misery loves company.
Right. So, well, anyway. So we're going to go to the Westport Playhouse, and we're going to have fun with it. We're going to do, some pre-show fun with the guys here at the station, and we'll be there, and we'll just, we'll have some prizes and fun and watch the debates together, and, not throw tomatoes at the screen, but,
Now,
that is fantastic.
Camellia, do you have any fun games planned for us? Because during the first debate, I think there was a bingo card that was circulating.
Yes. So working on some things. Bingo may be one of those things in the works. I think, on the sheet last time we had some things like we had "Come on, man."
Come on, man.
What? Somebody actually said it in one of the last debates.
In the Republican one?
Yes. I was like,
I missed that. That's fantastic. Folks, that'll be Wednesday. It's right around the corner. That'll be Wednesday, November the 8th. Doors open at 6. The debate is going to be launched at 7 p.m. Central, so 7 p.m. So it's a little earlier, which is nice for us here in the Heartland.
Right.
7 to 9 p.m. So we'll have a little pregame with the good folks at Americans for Prosperity, Camellia and the gang, and then we'll have a post-game analysis as well. We'll have live coverage. It'll be carried on our station, but you should come and join us live at Westport Playhouse. Westport Playhouse was a place that I always went to as a teenager, saw some concerts there. It was shuttered for a while. It's come back. It's a really cool, intimate venue. You'll all have a great time with us. So
Yeah,
thank you so much for organizing this.
Yes, and you know what? I went over there the other day, and they have a huge screen there on this. It is awesome. Oh, and also very important part. There will be food.
Whoa! Hey, that's
So,
a very important part.
Catered by the Drunken Fish next door, and so
Appropriate.
that'll be cool. So
Oh
yes,
man,
I
that's
believe
awesome.
we're providing complimentary food, right? Yes, and a cash
there'll be
bar.
a cash bar. Yep, and I think they're going to do up some special drink specials for us.
Well, that is fantastic. That is so wonderful.
Excellent.
And Camellia, Americans for Prosperity, Missouri and nationally, is taking a very deep interest in this next election cycle in many ways, right? You're all heavily investing on the federal and the state level, aren't y'all?
That's true. Yep. We have been working all summer, not only looking at state level races, which we're still actively doing right now here in Missouri, but we are also looking at, congressional races and the presidential primary. There's, AFP hasn't made an endorsement in that yet, but we have been laying the groundwork for voter ID and engagement, getting people involved. I would tell you one of the most, in the last election cycle, and here in Missouri, we did the campaign for Eric Schmidt. And so one of the most significant things that came out of AFP Nationwide's efforts in that election cycle was when they looked at the data afterwards, people who voted in the primary that we had contact with at the doors, 15% of those people had never voted in a primary before.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
It's a huge number. And I think that really is the impetus behind a lot of what we're doing. And it really drove home the importance of that personal contact with people. So we're throwing it all out there right now. We are knocking doors in early primary states. We're knocking doors here in Missouri. We're also layering phone calls on top of that to reach the people that we can't get to at doors, because it's just so important to have that human connection.
Absolutely. I really appreciate the groundwork, especially for those early races, because I always remember I always feel like crap every time I walk straight to a ballot on a primary day, and I'm looking around, I'm doing the meme of from Pulp Fiction, just looking around, nobody's here. So but of course I'm standing in line on election day, and I want to scream, "Where were you last time?"
Right.
Anyway, so I really appreciate the work you guys are doing. Now, this time though, this election cycle, we've got a caucus, which is a completely different thing. What's AFP doing in relation to that?
So I'm not sure how involved we will be in Missouri in that process. As you know, there are trainings going on all across the state right now. I'm talking to people all of the time, and they're trying to figure this out, and they've got the rules that are getting set into place. And I think they've kind of got a handle on it, but we're also on March 2nd, which is quite early.
Yeah.
So that kind of moves Missouri up in the priority list of states that people are watching in this. And so it'll be interesting. There's some apprehension out there among a lot of people about it. And, but I have seen a lot of emails from different grassroots groups going around that are letting people know, look, this is happening. You need to, if you want to be involved, this is what you need to do. So I think that's a good thing that people are really trying to spread the word.
I'm going to have to take one of those courses. I want to know how to be involved.
Right.
So I was involved the last time we had a caucus, and I've been involved in several of the other caucuses in our state. And it is confusing because we don't do it every year. We do it once every 4 years.
Right.
And so even people like me who have been trained as parliamentarians, Speaker of the House, blah, 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 I get rusty as well. So I went to caucus training recently, and the rules are different this time around. So even if you have been to a caucus previously, the first thing they told us was forget everything we did last time.
Right.
And so basically, folks, I want to boil this down. Number one, and our listeners will be educated on this. You will not go to the polls in Missouri next year and vote for a presidential candidate, right, Camellia?
Correct.
You will need to go to one of these caucus meetings. People are like, oh my gosh, what's that mean? Well, basically, it's what they've been doing in Iowa since the beginning of time, right? And you'll get inside this big auditorium, and they'll say, all the people for Trump go over there, all the people for DeSantis go over there, Haley over here, Ramaswamy, Scott, whatever. You'll literally divide up in bodies, souls, and then you'll count, right? That's how that's as simple and as complicated as that, right?
And I think they have to meet a minimum percent, threshold.
Yes.
And then if that group doesn't, then I think it works that they can then split themselves off into their second option.
Yes.
Okay.
But basically you need to go to a caucus.
Yes.
Show up, be a registered voter, show up early. They're going to close the doors at 10 o'clock. on March 2nd. We'll talk about this as it gets closer, but you still can make your preference known for whoever your favorite candidate is.
That's right. And, we've knocked a lot of doors in Iowa, because obviously Iowa's first in the nation, January 15th. And it's, people are still kind of all over the place on, primary candidates. And I'll tell you what, when we ask people what their number one issue is, first of all, it's the economy. Everybody talks about that. And the other top thing that we hear all the time is honesty.
Interesting.
And the government lying to people. So I think that, people are really hyper aware of that. But we hear, there are getting people involved in those primary processes in the caucus is so important. And maybe the caucus is a little more challenging. And so feedback from people in Iowa who have or haven't done the caucus is always kind of mixed too. But I get the idea that, this is supposed to make sure that people who are informed voters and who are invested in the electoral process are getting engaged in that process in a very active way. So we need more of those people.
Absolutely. We would love to hold you for another segment. Are you available? Can you hang? Can you hang for a minute?
Fun.
We have to have you come all the way down here just for one
exactly.
segment. So we're going to do one more segment with Camelia Peterson of Americans for Prosperity, Missouri. We're going to get a little bit more into the weeds of the important legislative agenda of Americans for Prosperity that is likely the legislative agenda of many of you, if not all of you, listening this morning. So we'll talk about some legislative priorities that Camelia and the gang would like to see the legislature pick up next year, and more when we come back on the Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show. Tim Jones in for Mike, along with Gabe Pfeiffer and producer Stell, 1019 94.1 News Talk STL.
News, analysis, opinion. Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Can't you hear the alarm? Get up, this is your cousin. Get up.
School choice is an idea whose time has come. It's flourishing in many states, just not in Missouri. Take charter schools, a great alternative for parents whose kids may be trapped in a failing school district. But charter schools are currently only available to families in just 3 of 520 school districts: Kansas City, the city of St. Louis, and Normandy. Open enrollment allows students to enroll in a district other than the one in which they live. It's important because rural schools may not offer all the advanced classes larger districts do. Open enrollment does exist in Missouri, but participation is highly restricted. And the Empowerment Scholarship Account, or ESA program, needs to be expanded so many more parents of students with disabilities and low-income students can access it. Charter schools, open enrollment, ESAs. If they're good for some children, they should be good for all children. Check out our 2023 blueprint, Moving Missouri Forward, at showmeinstitute.org. The Show Me Minute has been brought to you by Show Me Institute and Show Me Opportunity.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
Beavis Shaw, the attorney who originally made red light cameras illegal in the state of Missouri. How is the mayor bringing back red light cameras?
If everybody doesn't want red light camera tickets, why would aldermen vote for it? Well, they must have no fear of the voters. That tells you something's wrong with the voting habits of the public.
And they're Democrats.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps, weekdays at 4 on News Talk STL.
Southern Armory, your hometown gun store. Come and be more than just a customer. Southern Armory, we carry the best guns, holsters, knives, magazines, ammunition, and even food storage. Special orders are welcome. Southern Armory, 1 mile east of 270 and 44, 9901 Watson Road, and SouthernArmory.com. That's SouthernArmory.com.
Whether you're purchasing your first firearm or adding to your collection at Southern Armory, you're more than a customer, you're part of the family. Follow Southern Armory on Facebook or at SouthernArmory.com.
I think we should be able to have a civil conversation.
The news and talk that matters to St. Louis.
This conversation has completely made me crazy.
This is complete insanity.
News Talk STL.
I just died on your arms tonight. It must have been something you said. I just died in your arms tonight.
Good morning, St. Louis. It's Ben Shapiro. I'll talk to you tonight at 11. But right now,
Back to the Mike Ferguson Show on the new conservative voice of St. Louis, 1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
8:20 in the AM here on a bit of a changeable forecast type of a day here in the Heartland. October 25th, 2023. There's some storm fronts moving in and out. Might get a little welcome rain over the next day or so. It's going to still be warm here until the weekend. And then the bottom drops out next week, and we're back to fall, y'all. So welcome back to the program. Mike Ferguson in the morning. Tim Jones in the big chair today, along with Gabe Pfeiffer and producer Stell. And we've got Camellia Peterson in the studio here this morning. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, good morning.
At Rare Camellia on Twitter. She's with AFP Missouri. We just announced our big debate watch party that you all can participate with us. We're really happy and just honored and privileged to be able to do that with AFP Missouri. That'll be on Wednesday night, November the 8th. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. November the 8th, which is just around the bend.
Couple of weeks. And we will be at the awesome, newly renovated and reestablished Westport Playhouse. Yes.
I went there last fall with Tony to watch the Retro Nerds, who are very awesome cover band. They've been around for decades here in St. Louis. Huge band. They're like a giant ensemble band. And they did a double feature of Sting followed by Peter Gabriel.
Yeah.
And the Sting was really, I'm a huge Sting fan. The Sting was really good, but Sting's really hard. Well, they both are. But the lead singer and the band itself, they nailed the Peter Gabriel set, and it was really fantastic. And Camellia, they used that big screen behind them, which just added to the environment. So we're going to be seeing that debate on the big screen.
Yes.
It's huge.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Right. When I walked in the other day, they had this whole like psychedelic, space around. I was like, okay, this is awesome.
That's
good.
really cool.
So
do we have to register early?
Oh
in
yeah,
order
tell us.
to
I'm sorry.
proceed?
Yeah, how do our
that?
people
So,
go?
I mean, because it's at the Westport Playhouse, I mean, there's lots of room, but seating is limited.
Right.
So tickets are free, but you do have to register. We would love for you to register. And so I think the registration link, we are not only putting that out on social media and in our avenues, but I think you guys are putting it up on your website.
Katie will get on that soon.
Westport Playhouse, I think, is going to be putting it up on their website as well. So there will be plenty of ways to find it and register, and you're welcome to share that with your friends and bring them and get them registered too. And so we want to make sure we have enough food for you.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. So for our listeners, we're going to be sharing that stuff on all of our social media and the website and all that stuff. So just keep an eye out. I'm sure Katie's going to be on it.
And Gabe, thanks for bringing that up. And Gabe will be helping spread that message far and wide as
Absolutely.
well. But folks, Westport Playhouse is a really cool venue. It holds plenty of people, but it also is a little intimate, so you don't want to miss out. You're going to want to register for that. And the links will go up, I know, later today. You can go to AFP Missouri. You can go to News Talk STL. You can go to Westport Playhouse and more. So, Camellia, I don't want to get you into too much trouble or into the weeds too much talking about all of the races next year, because I know you all haven't made official endorsements and all that. Let me just ask you this bigger, broader philosophical question. Missourians stand at a precipice here, don't we? We are at a generational change election where we're going to be electing. There's a couple of incumbents, but they just got there. They were just appointed by Governor Parson barely a year ago. Right. So these are largely new names, new faces, new opportunities for Missourians to maybe move our state finally forward versus the kind of stuck in neutral status we've been in the last couple of years, right?
Right. And the thing is so many people look at Missouri and Missouri is a super majority red state. But when you look at how we legislate kind of purple. And, I've been talking to a lot of folks lately and some people are getting clued into this, that it would not take very much for us to flip back blue. I mean, just a couple of election cycles would do it. And so we really have to be on our guard. We have some good options this time around. And when we talk about statewide races, one of the things that is so important about that is when you look at the states around us who have been getting great things done on things like education choice, and issues like that, tax reform, one of the defining factors in those states is that they have governors who lead on those issues.
Absolutely.
So important.
Amen.
Now, Camellia, for the people in our legislature who basically behave purplish, they're the ones who are driving our red state very purple. Is it because that they are coming from purplish districts, or is it just that they're selling the R and delivering the blue and their constituents basically don't have any other choices?
I mean, the easy thing is to assume that they're just selling the R and then they're not, they're coming in and legislating differently. I think probably the uncomfortable truth is a combination of things. And there are definitely some areas of the state where they're just in that area, they're more moderate and they're still turning red. And I mean, in Southeast, you see this, all over, but we have a lot of, very conservative, great, people down there. And out of those people, we are getting some good candidates who will start moving us in the right direction. And I think some of it too is that it is more challenging sometimes in the rural areas to even find people to run.
Right.
So sometimes there's just not a lot of options. You've got to find somebody that's willing to step up and do that. And so I think that not only is that part of it, but we also, our challenge is to educate people down there too about, some of the issues that are going on, because I mean, that's a lot of what AFP does is we do a lot of grassroots engagement, and we want an informed electorate, so we want people to know what's going on with the issues and understand them so that they can make a, more informed choice about their candidates.
Absolutely. Camelia, with that Americans for Prosperity Army that you've all helped excite and engage over the last few years, working statewide with your team, where are you all going to be putting your shoulder into the legislative session? Where to begin, right? What issues are rising to the top for all y'all?
Sure. So, I mean, we have kind of tended to carry forward kind of 4 general top issues, and those include things like court reform at our at the appellate and Supreme Court level, education.
And that's
reform.
how we choose judges, right?
That's how we choose judges. Yes. And education obviously is a big one for us. Tax reform. We would like to eliminate the income tax, please. Thank you very much. And healthcare. We need to open up the healthcare market, more free market approach. But really, one of the biggest things that we'll be pushing at the top of that list this year will be education. Missouri's been dithering around, all the states around us are making great strides in freeing families to choose the best education for their children. And it is time for us to get that done. And we're kind of tired of asking for like a little bit of education reform here, a little bit of school choice there, and maybe we can expand open enrollment a little bit, but not really, because we can't even pass that. So we want money to follow that child because parents know what's best for their children.
Amen. Could not agree more. Camelia, in addition to all of those matters, probably need to remind folks that every single House representative and half of the Senate will be up for re-election, in addition to all the statewide offices. So this is an opportunity for Missourians who I think are getting more and more, not that they weren't educated, there wasn't a lot of means for them to get educated previously, right? Now, groups like yours and our radio station and others, we can really help spread the message using social media and all these grassroots organizations that have tended to work much more better and well together to get that out. So I think we have a much more well-informed and educated voter electorate, especially in the Republican primary. What do you think?
I agree.
You guys are nonpartisan, but, but the Republican Party tends to be the ones that kind of like
align with our
like your
principles,
issues.
Right,
So I think that there's a much more educated citizenry coming to the polls next year.
Absolutely. And you're absolutely right that, there are a lot of grassroots groups between those and conservative talk radio outlets that, that collaboration of those groups that have come up really even more in the last few years. I've seen a lot more networking among people to get the word out about things. I think that's so important because people are living their lives. They're going to work, they're taking care of their kids, they got activities. Like, it is hard to keep up with all of this stuff that's going on. And so I tell people all the time, because they're like, oh, I don't know what's happening. I'm like, you know what? There's no way you can track every single thing. And you find somebody that you trust that is in this all the time, that that they are going to, be critically looking at this, using their, good judgment. And it's okay to trust those people to tell you more about some of those issues and candidates.
Could not agree more. All right, Camelia, in the minute or so we have left, how can people get engaged? If we've inspired everyone to wake up, smell the coffee, and get involved in 2024, they can come to the debate watch party on November the 8th, Wednesday, Westport Playhouse, 6 p.m., doors open, show at 7, and then post analysis. But in the meantime, or around that or after that, how can they get involved with Americans for Prosperity Missouri?
So you can find us on social media, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, AFP Missouri. So pretty easy to find there. If you would like to let us know what you think about some of our state level candidates and other issues like that, I would love for you to go to MissouriSpeaks.com. And we would like to hear from you there, and you can let us know what you think. And you know what? I'm going to give you my number here too, because I'm a big believer in putting my information out there. So if you want to call me,
Brave lady leader.
Just doxing yourself right now.
I will hook you up with wherever you are in the state. We will get you involved. My number is 417-726-9475. You can call me anytime or shoot me a text.
Fantastic.
That's awesome.
And MissouriSpeaks.com.
MissouriSpeaks.com.
I love it.
All right.
MissouriSpeaks.com. Camila, thanks so much for coming in studio. Great
My
to see
pleasure.
you.
Thank you.
Good luck and Godspeed to all your travels around the state.
Thank you.
Great to have you on again. All right, 8:30 here in the Heartland. We've got 2 jam-packed segments left. What haven't we gotten to today? Oh, we'll give you an update on the U.S. House Speaker race. We know when that's going to be today. And we'll make sure that we haven't started, or that Joe Biden hasn't started World War IV, since we're already in
3.
World War III. All of that and more straight ahead here at 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL.
You said, I just died in your arms tonight.
Follow us on Rumble at News Talk STL. Mike Ferguson in the morning.
I keep looking for something I can't get. Broken hearts lie all around me, and I don't see an easy way to get out of this.
From the Michael's Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Clouds in control today and a spot shower or two kicking around mainly this morning. The afternoon trends dry, but the clouds are going to stick for much of the day. It's still mild for this time of year, a high of 79 this afternoon, and breezy too. Winds out of the south, maybe a few gusts up to about 25 miles per hour. Some dry time tonight, partly cloudy down to 64, but right back into the rain chances Thursday afternoon, about a 40% chance. And this unsettled pattern continues right through the weekend. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
Fox News commentary.
Another multi-billion-dollar aid package request from Biden, and hint, hint, the biggest benefactor is, once again, Zelensky. And the Uniparty, they are all for it. I'm Tommy Lahren. More next.
Hi, Dr. Ron Paul here. The Fed creates and pops bubbles using interest rate manipulation. Why put the value of your IRA or 401k at their mercy? This is why I recommend a physical gold IRA from Birch Gold Group. To get a free info kit from Birch Gold, text the word SHELTER to 989898. That's SHELTER to 989898. Do it now and protect your savings.
Last week, Biden delivered a stuttering mess of an Oval Office address where he stressed the importance of supporting Israel, but also took the opportunity to pivot to his favorite topic, the endless funding of Ukraine. I'm sure our Israeli allies are comforted to know that while Biden is requesting $14 billion to assist their effort to defeat Hamas, he is seeking an additional $60 billion for Ukraine and is tying Israel's aid money to Ukraine's money, holding it hostage. This is part of a larger request for a total of $105 billion for emergency funding. Important to note, we don't have $105 billion to give, so I guess we'll just keep running up the debt with monopoly money and hope no one can count. But the Uniparty is fine with this. The Uniparty loves dealing in monopoly money. America last is the Uniparty motto, and hint, hint, you're paying for it. I'm Tommy Lahren.
Getting a new floor for your home can be intimidating and a little scary, but that's not the case when you go to Michael's Flooring Outlet. Katie here, and my mom and dad used Michael's, and they had a great experience. They've been a locally owned and operated family business for more than 30 years. You want variety? Michael's has carpet, hardwood, laminate, ceramic tile, luxury vinyl, natural stone, and many other options. Shop in-store at one of their 3 locations in Creve Coeur, Dardine Prairie, or St. Peters. Check out everything that Michael's has to offer at igotfloored.com.
Tony Colombo here with a great offer from Zero Res. Just mentioned the Colombo special when you book a cleaning in October, and you'll get 3 rooms of carpet cleaned starting at just $129 plus $50 off an air duct cleaning. We've trusted Zero Res with our home for years, and 5,000 Google reviews with an average of 4.9 out of 5 says it all. Zero Res is the best when it comes to cleaning any surface in your home. Just remember to mention the Colombo special when you call 314-474-2020 or book online at ZeroResSTL.com.
News Talk STL is proud to have Doug Voss of Safe Money Radio as part of our lineup each week. Doug has been a staple on St. Louis radio for many years as one of the leading financial experts in the area. Doug and Safe Money Radio is on 3 times every weekend, but in case you miss anything, you can check it all out at DougVossSafeMoneyRadio.com or call 844-676-SAFE. That's 844-676-7233. Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through DHL Securities, LLLP. Member FINRA and SIPC.
So many ways to listen to News Talk STL. Enable our Alexa skill.
Hello.
Hey, Alexa,
Yes, I'm listening.
play News Talk STL.
Welcome to News Talk STL, conservative talk radio for St. Louis.
Hey everyone, this is State Senator Nick Schroer. I am the host of Stand and Fight every Sunday night. Tune in to us at 8 p.m. Right now, let's hear more of Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show here on News Talk STL.
A ceasefire right now is what we would believe that a ceasefire right now is only going to benefit Hamas.
Yeah, that's very true. Shout out there to Two Shows Nicky Schroer. He texted me this morning, so great to hear. Glad to know the other state senator from the great county of St. Charles is listening to us as well this morning. So shout out to you, Nick Schroer. I'm going to see Nick over the weekend. We're going to head to Louisville, Kentucky, for the second annual Nick Schroer 1776 Pack Bourbon Trail Tour.
Awesome.
We may or may not come back. So.
Be careful, guys. Be careful.
Yeah.
By the way, Nick made me a really cool avatar.
Yes.
Using AI, and I'm switching over to that. That's going to be in our my St. John the Philosopher 2.0.
Nice.
So that's rolling out.
He
as
does some
soon as I can
badass
do that.
memes.
Man, it's so cool.
It's very cool.
So cool.
Very cool. Gabe, do we need to remind people, especially these young, impressionable left-wing lunatics on college campuses, Hamas is a terrorist group. There's no debating that.
Yeah.
And there's no debating the fact that they started the war.
Right.
With incredible, horrific war crime atrocities.
You know, what's interesting is the same people who spend all day calling people Nazis for such crimes as wanting to keep children from mutilating their bodies, wanting to keep sexually explicit books out of schools, wanting to, exercise their Second Amendment without constantly being accosted by the government. Those are the things that we're called Nazis for. But when a group of people go and commit actual atrocities against actual Jews whom they say they want to exterminate, they do a Nazi.
Yes.
And they're not called Nazis. They're given support by the same people who say that it's a crime to misgender somebody. I don't understand. You're showing yourself not to be a moral person. You're showing yourself to be an ideological villain.
So well stated. It makes you want to pull your hair out, and I see you already have.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
It's all gone. See, the reason I'm bald is leftists.
But Gabe, it is mind-bending, isn't it, that these people do not see abject evil incarnate walking around on the planet. You're talking about, as you just said so well, actual Nazi acts.
Yes.
Being committed by Nazi-esque people who literally want to genocide Israeli Jews.
Yes.
And honestly, all Jews across the planet.
Yeah.
The atrocities that they committed. You know, Gabe, it's like saying back in the 1930s, well, we just want to stand with the good Germans.
Uh-huh.
When they say, well, we're just standing with the Palestinian people. The Palestinian people made this bed, and they are now going to have to reap what they've sown for the past nearly 20 years that they have kept Hamas in power. I don't know if people understand that either. I heard on The View the other day, I don't watch The View. I just heard that they were saying this on The View. Those dingbats. They didn't understand that the Palestinian people had elected Hamas to rule over them.
Yes. When they talk about, they say, well, we're not really talking about the Palestinian people. We're talking about Hamas, and Hamas doesn't represent the Palestinian people. Yes, they do.
Yes, they do.
But by definition, when you elect a government, those people represent you, which is one of the reasons why I hate the fact that Joe Biden lives in the White House. But that's what happens when elections take place. The majority speaks, and people rule, and that's who you're being judged by. That's how That's how war works. And maybe these kids miss this portion of history,
or weren't taught it in the first place.
Or weren't taught it in the first place. There was a transition between where wars were just a couple of armies go out to a field and duke it out to the transition to total war. I remember that lesson very clearly, the total war concept, which arose in about World War I and came to full fruition in World War II, where the entire society on some level is a support to the war machine. So then there are certain aspects of the society that are necessarily making themselves targets because they support the war machine. So when we bombed the factories that made tanks and stuff in Germany, those are quote unquote civilian targets. They're part of the war machine and must be destroyed and degraded in order to win the war. This is what's happening right now. Hamas has made all of Gaza their war machine. Now that's a problem. That's a problem for the Palestinian people, and it's certainly a problem for those of us who want to protect civilian lives. But look, if there is an artillery emplacement on top of a hospital, that hospital's getting bombed. I'm sorry.
That's what people don't understand. Gabe, you just made such a great point here. There is no Hamas is over here and the Palestinians are over there in the Gaza Strip. Now, the elitist Hamas leaders are sitting in Qatar right now being wined and dined.
That's true.
But the Hamas fighters and the Hamas network and the terrorist operations are an intricately intertwined part of the Gaza Strip and of the Palestinian people. I'm sorry, it's not that big of an area.
No.
The tunnel system, everything they do, whether it's a hospital in Gaza or a school in Gaza or a water tower in Gaza or the
church,
it doesn't matter. They're all disguised. They're all part of the war machine, as you said. We hear how the Hamas uses the actual infrastructure of Gaza to carry out some of their worst deeds. They use the water infrastructure.
Yes, the water pipes turned into rockets.
They use the actual infrastructure and the people for their efforts. And once again, it would be like trying to go into 1930s Germany and going, okay, we're not going to do anything to hurt the good Germans. Who the hell are the good Germans? You as a nation, have declared war on the rest of the world. That's what's happened here. Even though you and I may not like Joe Biden or the fact that he's president, he represents our country. So when Joe Biden goes abroad, we can't say, nope, we're not part of it. That's our, for better or for worse, that's our foreign policy. That's our leader.
Yes, absolutely.
Hamas is Palestine right now.
Yes.
They are the Palestinian people, and the Palestinian people are Hamas. I'm sorry to say that. That doesn't mean we should go and purposefully target and kill civilians and commit atrocities like Hamas did. We're not doing that. But if they get in the way because Hamas has made the Palestinian people an intimately intricate part of their entire war machine, what are you supposed to do? Oh, you know what? We'll send over a few bombs and then we'll retreat, and then you guys can build everything up and attack us again.
Yeah, it's the harsh reality of the world that the young minds are not able to comprehend, and the older stupid minds manipulate in order to get the support that they need. They say, look at what Israel has done. They're in blockading things and creating and building the wall between the Gaza Strip and this. It's like, and they have to pass through checkpoints, and look how oppressive all of this is.
So
this
oppressive.
apartheid state and all these things. Well, you know why they did all that stuff? Well, it was probably the suicide bombs. It was probably people, riding on the bus and starting to stab everybody around them. It's probably the fact that Hamas pays random citizens within the Gaza Strip to become martyrs, and their family is set for life because of it. When you weaponize your people that way, when you sacrifice your children that way, and you keep throwing your children at Israelis hoping to kill one of them because of the impact, you can't cry when that kid dies.
It's all reactionary on the part of the Israelis.
Yes.
It's all reactionary.
Yes.
They are the passive reactionaries to the overt aggressors, which is Hamas.
Right.
Period. The end.
Yeah, and the kids don't seem to understand that. It's a complicated reality. It's an ugly reality of the world, and I guess maybe they're still coming out of the delusions of unicorns and rainbows that we can all kind of kumbaya and get along. But the thing is, at some point, you have to take responsibility for the words that are coming out of your mouth. And when you repeat a phrase like "from the river to the sea," you are declaring Jewish genocide. That is what you're doing. The only means by which you can, quote unquote, reclaim the land that was quote unquote stolen from the river to the sea and give it to the Palestinians is if you absolutely destroy the state of Israel. Destroying the state of Israel will require the destruction of a lot of Jews.
Mm-hmm.
That's all. So when you say from the river to the sea, you are using essentially Nazi propaganda language.
Correct. That is Nazi genocide, Nazi propaganda, and that's what Hamas is.
Yes, you're calling for a
Yes.
second Holocaust.
Yes. Well, the reason Gabe got us all lathered up,
I'm sorry.
heading into this break was because of this letter that you said is coming out from UC Berkeley.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Where
Let me look that up.
The protests are not ending. They're continuing, these lunatic leftist universities, despite the fact that so many people on all sides of the political aisle, from captains of industry to liberal Jewish Americans who are standing up and saying, enough is enough. Stop promoting the terrorists. Stop promoting Hamas. And the days of rage, I guess, are just going to continue to roll on. So.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, we can get into this after the break, or do you want to go into it now?
No, we can wrap. We'll wrap that up.
Yeah,
and then we'll try to finish on a happy note because
yes, okay.
we have a World Series.
That's right.
That has been set, and we'll explain to you who won those games and what we can have next on that front. And we'll talk about anything else you need to know before we hand you off to the one and only Vic Porcelli. The Vic Porcelli Show will be treating you with all the news you need, watching Speakergate and seeing whether we're going to choose a speaker or not today. Vic and Ken will be here at 9:05. Until then, one final jam-packed segment with Gabe, Stell, and yours truly here on the Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show, 1019 94.1 News Talk STL.
The heart of the city street is beating. Light from the neons turn the dark to day.
Like us on Facebook at News Talk STL.
We're too hot to think of sleeping.
Get up. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning.
We had to get out before the magic got away. We were running with the night, playing in the shadows.
Dealing with storm damage? Don't panic. Eureka Contracting and Roofing is here to help. With the recent storms, they understand it can be overwhelming. Remember, you don't have to rush into signing with the first door-to-door salesman. Don't let pushy sales tactics force you into a contract you're not comfortable with. Before making decisions, take a moment. Give the folks at Eureka Contracting and Roofing a call like I did for a no-pressure inspection. They'll assess the damage, determine if it's insurable. If it is, they'll guide you through the insurance process, and your only out-of-pocket expense will be your deductible. Eureka Contracting and Roofing, 636-938-ROOF, eurekacontracting.com.
In a world where heroes walk among us, shines the David Dorn Foundation. Named after a true hero, our foundation empowers those who risk their lives to protect us every day. We stand tall with unwavering dedication to provide our first responders with equipment often not supplied.
But we can't do it alone. We need your generosity of a few volunteer hours to provide our first responders with the tools they desperately need to save lives and keep our communities safe. Visit dornfoundation.com now to be part of our critical progress.
Hi, Chris Arps here. Join me and the team at Royal Banks of Missouri for their annual Economic Forecast Breakfast. The event will take place on Tuesday, November 14th at the Factory in the District in the Chesterfield Valley. Hear from the experts and get a better understanding of what to expect from the U.S. economy in 2024 and beyond. Attendance is free, but you do need to reserve a spot. You can RSVP by sending an email to emails@royalbanksnet.com or by calling 314-212-1545. Royal Banks, Missouri, the community bank that is in your community.
So we finally got the parts for the time machine. Classic Kicks Country is streaming now. Hear all your new country favorites from the 90s. Streaming as it happened in the 90s. Classic Kicks. Download the Classic Kicks app from the App Store. Online at ClassicKicks.com. Or enable the Classic Kicks skill on Alexa. 90s new country streaming now. The Vic Porcelli Show.
All right, I've been a little worked up this week. I agree. However, I need somebody to calm me down, and that person is Speaker Tim Jones, who joins us Wednesday at 10:05.
Weekday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL.
Bill O'Reilly here. Check out the O'Reilly Update this afternoon at 3:45. Right now, it's back to Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
So I'm going to be the one to calm Vic Porcelli down.
I was thinking about that.
That's a production error right there.
I was like, are you sure you got the right guy for that one?
Shame on you, Ken Williams. So to wrap up our discussion, Gabe,
Yes.
despite everything we said,
Mhm.
where I think we and you did this masterfully, laid out the choices here between one side versus the other. There is no, as Joe Biden would say, there's no two teams here.
Right.
There's the good team.
Yes.
And there's the evil team.
Yes.
There's no two good teams.
Right.
There's no two evil teams. There's good team and evil teams. Despite all that, they're still continuing to stage these pro-Palestinian, which I think is a freaking, forget about dog whistles. It's a bullhorn for pro-Hamas demonstrations. In our country, they're still promoting that, Gabe, on college campuses.
Absolutely. Victoria Hune, I guess is how you pronounce her name. I guess she's a professor or maybe a TA at UC Berkeley in their Asian Studies department. She sent an email. Hi, everyone. We're offering a field trip and or extra credit opportunity. 1, students can attend the National Student Walkout tomorrow against, listen to this, the settler colonial occupation of Gaza.
Oh, boy.
Or 2, students can watch a short documentary on Palestine and call/email your local California representative using this link tree. And then it goes on to describe all of the stupidity involved in that. So look, they're weaponizing your children against your Jewish friends. That's what they're doing.
Yes.
Like, think about it this way. You're paying however many tens of $1,000s a year to send your child to be indoctrinated into a self-destructive ideology that will harm them individuals, as well as go out and be activists to support international terrorism.
Mm-hmm. And once again, these people don't know their history, so they just fly past it without caring. The Palestinian people never ruled that region of the Middle East.
No.
If you crack open a history book, you will see that, number one, that has been a disputed territory going back eons.
Yes.
But it was never ruled by the Palestinian people. In fact, it was originally ruled by the 12 tribes of Israel.
No kidding.
And then the kingdom of Israel.
Yes.
And then in came the Assyrians and the Babylonians and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
But the Israelis are the only ones of the current parties who have an argument that that's their land. So the Palestinian people are also occupiers. So you're trying to choose occupiers, and you're trying to choose the peace-loving ones who want peace, the Israelis, versus the ones who are ruled by a terrorist group who want to genocide the others.
Yes, and you're not only doing that, but you're calling for the extermination of the Jews, because that's the only means by which the state of Israel will disappear from the river to the sea.
How did this happen in the 1930s? Well, you're witnessing a replay of history right before your very eyes.
Yeah, never again, my foot.
Right, exactly. All right, 8:52 in the AM. This has been a fun but very heavy morning.
Gosh.
It has been. I need to towel off, and I think I'm just going to head out right now. No, I'm done. No.
Wait a minute.
We got a few minutes left.
Yeah.
So
Let's lighten up here.
Despite all of the consternation and challenges and crises and absolute, complete, utter chaos and conflagrations around the globe, we still are doing things like playing Major League Baseball here in the United States of America.
And old man baseball.
America's favorite pastime, along with old man baseball that Mike Ferguson is doing down in Fort Myers, Florida land. Still, we have a National and an American League champion, don't we?
Yeah, we do. And for me as a naysayer, it's a little humbling to see the Arizona Diamondbacks beat the Phillies, winning the last 2 games in Philadelphia. So they move on to the World Series, our first one since, I think, 2001 when they beat the Yankees. So this is only their second appearance in the history of their franchise. So they beat the Phillies. They move on. They'll face the Texas Rangers. And the first game is Friday night. That's right.
Yep.
In Arlington, Texas.
Diamondbacks at Rangers, Friday, October 7th, 7 p.m. Central on the Big Fox. There you go. That's going to be pretty wild.
Oh, yeah.
It's a Southwest America World Series, right?
Yep.
Just traveling back and forth between the Dallas-Fort Worth area and the Phoenix region.
Interesting side note here, by the way.
Yeah.
Arizona only won 84 games.
Wow.
Oh, my gosh.
Kind
really?
of like the Cardinals that year that they went to the World Series, right?
Was that 2011?
2011. I
Kind
don't
of
know
a
if they
miracle
won 90
season.
games.
Mm.
Yeah. So, Stell, what do we look at in these two teams? Like, does one have better pitching or hitting, or what kind of matchups are we looking at generally? Like, what are the big marquee items we're looking at in this World Series?
I think both of them have good lineups. I lean a little bit, to be honest with you, towards the Rangers, maybe on the pitching side. But Arizona may be one of those teams of destiny where you sneak in and you get hot at the right time. You're able to knock off a team like the Phillies, which in my estimation was a solid team. They beat some good pitching with the Phillies, and the Philly bats did not stay hot, which is what they needed those last 2 games. So all the credit goes to the Diamondbacks for pulling the thing out, and they may be the team of destiny for 2023.
They might be. They might be indeed. Quick look at the National Hockey League, the NHL. I'm a big hockey fan. Haven't been able to pay attention much in recent years because of this whole Bally's problem where you can't watch hockey or baseball games in St. Louis unless you have cable and only cable.
Yeah.
But now I think Bally's you can download their app and watch that on Hulu or YouTube or whatever, of course, for an additional fee. But I am a big Blues fan. I'm going to go to the Blues game in a week or two with the family. They are now 2-2-1. So they have 2 wins, 2 losses, 1 overtime loss. They have 5 points. And they are 7 points back of the Avalanche, who are now, holy Toledo.
What?
The Colorado Avalanche are now 6-0.
They're 6-0, boy.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Blues lost last night, by the way. They played the Jets up in Winnipeg.
They do.
And
I don't know
lost.
much about the team. I don't know if we're supposed to have a good team or a bad team this year or somewhere in the middle. So I'll have to, dig a little deeper into that. Just taking a quick look at the NHL. The Boston Bruins are 6-0 in the Atlantic Division, followed closely by the Red Wings at 5-1-1. You go to the Central, you got the Avalanche at 6-0-0. The Stars are at 4-0-1. In the Metropolitan Division, you got the Flyers, the Philly Flyers. They're 3-2-1. They're leading that division. The Rangers are right behind. The Golden Knights. Aren't they the Stanley Cup defenders? Or did they lose last year? They're 7-0.
They're 7-0.
7-0
Oh my
start,
gosh.
followed by the Crazy Canucks at 4-2. So there
By
you
the way,
have it.
the Blues take on Calgary tomorrow night.
All right, Calgary, as the
Calgary,
Canadians say,
that's right.
right? Gabe, they say Calgary.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
they do. I have to ask Janet. Janet's going to text you and say
that-
Jones is making crap up again.
I think she would tell that. Yeah.
Gabe,
but
anything?
her Maple Leafs are also 4-2, and they're third in the Atlantic.
Oh,
Yeah.
very good, very good. Gabe, anything for the good of the order? Do you have anything left on the boilerplate there?
No, just be kind to one another. maybe that's because I feel as though we need to I don't know, just calm down, to chill a little bit, because we're getting really, really worked up. The world feels like it's on fire, but don't take it out on your neighbor.
We need to unite as a family, right?
Yeah,
we really do. We do have a common purpose, and that's the American spirit.
Absolutely.
Shining City on the hill.
Yeah.
All right, 8:57 in the AM. We've got the Shining Stars coming in next. The NBA award winners, Vic Porcelli and Ken Thunderstealer Williams. They'll be in here next. Thanks for having me today. Great speaking with you all. I'll be back on Friday at 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL.
Investment advisory services offered through OWLFI LLC, a SEC registered investment advisor. Insurance and education services offered through Serenity Wealth Management.
Are you or someone you know providing or managing care for a loved one today? Did you know there could be more cost-efficient solutions for funding long-term care, even those currently living in a skilled care facility today? Financial strategist and long-term care specialist Chris Cooper of Serenity Wealth Management can show you tax-efficient strategies available to help your family manage care concerns. Whether planning for the future or managing care for a loved